Betting, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the Bet with the Best podcast. Its mission is to explore better ways to bet on races, to seek out new, successful players, and to boldly go where no podcast has gone before.
Welcome to the Bet with the Best podcast. On this podcast, we're focused on betting. We won't be giving out picks, but we will be going in depth with a guest expert horse player to find out how they approach the betting side of the game. In our previous episode, our inaugural show, we had Marshall Graham on. It was a great interview. Totally evergreen content, so I encourage you, if you have not listened to that episode and you like this one, please go back and listen to the talk with Marshall. And if you like what you hear, please let us know. Give us some likes out there in the Twitter sphere. Give us a good rating on whichever platform you're listening to. Give us a review. Share it with your friends and retweet it. Whatever it takes. We want to get some momentum going. Make sure we can continue to bring in new guests and continue to inform you on the betting side of the game, something I think is really underrepresented in the contest world, at least in terms of content out there in podcasts. And I'm really excited for episode 2. I think you're going to really enjoy this one. Another great horse player. He's a professional. He's made a living at this for quite a while. He claims he's semi-retired now. He's hit $1 million pick six in Hong Kong. He's won the Breeders' Cup betting challenge. He's always entertaining and informative. And I'm really looking forward to this guest. And his agent insisted that I play some walkout music for him. So on comes Tommy Hammer Massis. Welcome to the Bet with the Best podcast, Tommy.
How's it going, Chris? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, I really appreciate you're willing to spend some time with the listeners, sharing some of the things that have made you successful as a horse player. And to get started, maybe tell us your story. How did you evolve into a successful player? Tell us the path from when you got started to where you are today.
Well, it's the first time I went to a racetrack. It doesn't really count. It was 73. I was 10 years old at Woodbine. Secretariat was running, and I didn't even know who Secretariat was till at least 10 years later, even though I saw him win his last race. So my uncle, my cousins, they were regular racetrackers, and we went to the track, and we showed up there late. We left after that race. I didn't really enjoy it. It was crowded, noisy. I didn't like it as a 10-year-old kid. And years after that, I don't know if it was 5 or 6 years, I was in my teens, and we lived in Toronto, and basically it was like 3 or 4 houses around the same 2 little L streets, and we'd gravitate to my grandmother and grandfather's house. And I went over to see my grandpa, and he said, "Get away from me. Go home, go somewhere." Like, I never seen my grandfather mad. He was steaming. And I went to Grandma. "What did I do?" He goes, "It's not you, it's your uncle and your cousin. They're in shit." Right? So I go, "I'm staying for this." They were older than me and kind of, bully you a little or whatever. So I was willing. So anyways, they came in, and my grandfather laid into them about going to the racetrack, and you guys, you work hard, and we came to this country and we worked hard for every little thing. You want to go blow it at the racetrack. And at the end of it, my grandfather said, "Here, your other cousin, he's here. He's left at home to play with the girl cousins, and why don't you take him to a movie or something?" So the next night, my uncle and my cousin goes, "Come on, we're going to a movie." And we're going on, for people in Toronto, the QEW East. We're coming. I see these big bright lights, and I say to my uncle, "Oh, we're going to a drive-in, neat." and they start laughing. It was Greenwood Racetrack. And, and we go in there and I go, I'm telling Grandpa. And they said, no, we'll leave you here. So anyways, when I went in there, I wasn't really happy with the idea. I was scared I was going to get in trouble. And then I saw all the cool guys in the neighborhood were there. I'm going, hey, all the cool guys in the neighborhood there. It was great. One guy, sent me to get coffees. He gave me like $1 change. I'm going, wow, $1, man, like $1. You're set for a week. You can treat your friends. And then another guy later cashed the ticket. He goes, here, kid, here's $5. And then, needless to say, the next day I was sitting on the hood of my uncle's car, and I was hooked at that age, and I really didn't gamble for a long time going there. But I was the coffee boy. Got to the point where I could go to the one girl mutual clerk, and she would take the bets because she knew I was getting it for the guys and cashing tickets. I was going home with money every day. This was the greatest thing on earth, and so I was hooked on Greenwood Racetrack and that atmosphere. It took a while to get into the gambling. I saw a horse once that kind of looked like Trigger, and that like blonde tail and blonde mane. So it was a horse called Ray Beldan with Mel Corbett in the bike. And every time that horse ran once a week, if I was there, I bet $2 on it. And I progressed from there and basically became a degenerate gambler, horse player. The first few jobs I had blew my paycheck in one night, and got to the point, going year by year, and then kind of an aha moment came one day. The lady that was in charge of keeping track of betting at Woodbine, and it was something new. We never, she said, "You're Tommy, right? You're Tommy Massis." I go, "Yeah." She goes, "You had the third or fourth best return ROI from all our customers." I go, "Really?" She goes, "Yeah, you bet like 100,000 and you cashed like 97,000." And I said, "Where the hell did I get 100,000 from?" It didn't dawn on me that your money recycles, and recycles. And I'm going, wow, I almost broke even. It's just like, it's unheard of, like to me, like I almost broke even playing this game. So I started to think about it then, and was kind of holding my own for a while. And I got a job offer to me, and it was kind of an OTB outlet where the bets were written down on a piece of paper. And I ran that for a guy, and
we're saying this wasn't a totally legal operation. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it was 100% legal. It was just the
Okay.
machines before pre-machines. Okay. And so when you actually get to write down other people's bets, and that's where I was learning. I look at these bets and say, what? Like you get to see how bad they are when they're written out. And I start to learn from that. And I even, I would, take the papers at home, and before I, throw them in the garbage, I go over them again. And you learn some mistakes. And then, one of the first things I learned then was to write my bets down. And I still do it. You see me with my little book everywhere I go to the track. I got a little, 4-inch by 3-inch notebook, and I write my bets out. I like to look at them, stare at them, and analyze them, see if there's worth playing or not. So that was kind of the turning point there. And I started betting offshore. And the guy was betting offshore with, he says, "I want to talk to you one day." And then, so we sat down and talked, and he said, because I've never seen anyone as good as you, but you bet like a little girl. And he goes, "Listen to me." He goes, "Forget about Mr. I still have a Twitter handle, Mr. Belmont. It's still there somewhere." And, at the little place, I used to go to an OTB restaurant, one with, run by the track. And the waitress called me Mr. Belmont. The people that didn't know me called me Mr. Belmont, because every time, I give the waitress a $5 tip. She goes, "What did you hit?" And I'd say, "Belmont," right? And so this guy told me, he goes, "You got to stop playing Belmont. You have to play Woodbine." And I said, "Oh, no." He goes, no, listen to me." He goes, he just made a statement to me. He goes, "What's the pick 3 pool at Belmont?" And I said, well, from 100,000 to 170,000. I think there was two of them back then, depending on the day. I think there was an early pick three and a late pick three, if I remember well. Not the first three races, but anyways. And he said to me, what's the pick three pools at Woodbine? And it hit me right away. They were like 3,000 to 5,000 back then. And it hit me because the offshore, your money, the money didn't hit the windows. So, you can, make a $100 pick three or pick four where I was playing way back then and not affect the price. And he goes, listen to me. He goes, I'm going to put the money in the account, right? He goes, we'll go partners. And he goes, trust me. He goes, we're going to win. And I'm going, I don't know about that, right? And he goes, trust me, just. So about a month goes by or 6 weeks go by and we're down about 30,000. And I said, I quit. And he goes, no, you're doing fine. I go, I'm doing fine. I go, I can't sleep. I'm dizzy doing fine. And he goes, don't worry about it. Don't worry. You don't have to pay. I go, what? He goes, just keep playing. You don't have to pay. Trust me. And he was right. We never looked back, man. We never looked back. And the secret, it's like people play for rebates and that, but I had the biggest edge over anyone with a huge rebate, being able to bet $100 pick threes, $100 pick fours, $500 doubles and exactors, could win up to 50,000 in a race at most tracks. And you didn't move the needle on the prices. You bet a $500 exactor. I put it this way. I hit doubles and pick threes for 50,000 with only, 3 to 5,000 in the pools. So just, wrap your head around that. So it's a big edge and we took advantage of it. And, that was my bread and butter. People know me, playing contests in Hong Kong and hitting a pick six at Keeneland. I made huge scores. I've knocked out Bet365 for about probably $500,000 in my lifetime, and just rinse and repeat, get shut down, open it up on somebody else's name, and bomb. I hit Bet365. People who are against fixed odds are nuts. So yeah, as a replacement, no, but as an additive thing, why not? Like I hit them $100 bet, a 3-horse parlay at Woodbine. I knocked them out for $127,000 on a $100 bet. And you tell me where else you can do that like that. And I took advantage of them. I got 23 to 1 on a 16 to 1. I think it was 16 to 1 or 11 to 1 on an $11 horse, and 7 or 8 to 1 on a 6 to 5 shot first time starter. So that's where I really made my living playing horses. And by the time I got to where I hit Hong Kong, I stopped doing all that. I don't need to do that. I'm basically going to the track like a tourist. I still do a fair bit of homework, but I'm not playing. I'm not playing seriously, and especially coming down to the States, I won't do that while I'm down here anyway. So I don't want to get in trouble. So I kind of stopped that. But that was my bread and butter. That's basically the big edge I had to become a professional. And as I was going through that, at the beginning, we were holding our own, making a small profit, not a real, not to the point where I was making enough on my end to, I was making enough to survive, never had to work. And I wasn't happy with that. I wanted to, drive a Cadillac and smoke cigars and own horses. I wanted to make a good living. So another turning point was I had a friend of mine. I was good friends with him and his wife. His wife really liked me, and they had an open door policy for me. I didn't have to phone her, and I can just knock on the door, go in and have dinner, hang out. So I knock on their door one day, and my friend goes, bad timing, you got to go, right? I go, okay. And his wife goes, who's that? And he goes, it's Tommy, he's leaving. She goes, no, come in. I go, what's going on? He goes, we're having a group meeting from work, and there's this general here to speak to us. And he goes, yeah, you better leave. And his wife wouldn't have it. He goes, no. She goes, come in, just come in, get something to eat. She goes, don't listen to your buddy here, right? So I come in, and this general's talking, and he's talking about something called change leadership. And it's going in through one ear, out the other. I'm kind of like half falling asleep. I'm eating, I'm not paying attention. And he wasn't even finished yet. And I went out back for a smoke. And when he was done, the general came out and kind of cornered me, right? He was a retired general from the Canadian Army. He goes to me, he goes, did I bore you? I go, yeah, kind of. He goes, well, why are you here? And when I told him, he goes, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, I didn't know that. He goes, I thought you were part of the company. I go, nah, I just friends, I told him the story. I came and she invited me in. And he started talking to me. He goes, so what do you do for a living? And I said, yeah, I bet horses for a living. He goes, really? I go, yeah. He goes, well, did you hear what I was talking about, the three C's of leadership or change? And I go, yeah, kind of. He goes, well, he goes, the first one is to communicate. He goes, do you do this alone? I go, I got a partner. He goes, do you communicate? I go, well, if you call me talking and making all those decisions communicating, yeah. And he goes, well, no. He goes, well, your partner has nothing to add. I go, no, actually, my partner's smarter than I am. And he goes, well, why are you making decisions? Well, I go, he's got a family, he's got another business, so he kind of, he's like the owner of the company, and I'm the manager. And he goes, well, if he's that much smarter, you gotta let him be part of the process, and communicate with each other and get him to you know and I said, yeah, you're right. What am I doing? This guy is, he's smarter than me any day of the week, understands gambling better than me any day of the week. And here I am, because he put me in charge, I'm kind of shutting him out, kind of thing. So, I go, wow, that makes sense. And he goes, the second one is collaborating, right? And, just to cut it short, with collaborating, that's when he's trying to explain it to me. And he's going, the dumbest employee could come up with a good idea. So that's, I started to think about that. So I started to read Ron Gearkink in the Forum. He's still there. The guy looks like he's 40, but he's been there forever. So I started reading his comments. I read Jim I just absorbed everything, whether I thought it was good or not. And sure enough, there's always, that 2 cents sometimes make a dollar when you got 98 cents. So, I'm going, wow, man, this guy, really changed my outlook on things. Because, we're looking at a bunch of guys just playing horses, even though we shouldn't have, because we are playing it seriously. And then the third one was to commit. And that's the key, is to really put the time in, to not let anything get in the way, not hang out with your friends at the track, don't have a beer, don't smoke a joint at the track, really, really focus and commit to what you're doing. And this guy really changed us from a couple horse players who could make some money to looking at it as a business, and it's the proper way to do things. And I don't know, but I meant, I'm not a guy who's looking to get a positive ROI or be profitable. I need to make a living. I haven't done anything for a while. I like to spend money. I like to enjoy finer things in life. I'm not a splurger, but still, it takes money. And when you go through spells as a gambler, you got to overcome these things, and you still want to buy all these things. So it's really committing to it as a business, and to really make it my living. And that general, I can't even remember his name. It's a shame, but it really opened my eyes to say, hey, this is not only a job, it's a business, it's a company, a two-man company, even by yourself, it's a one-man company, and run it that way, and so that was one of the major things that really got me now on the step to being more profitable, and really focusing on the money and everything. And so the next stumbling block would be,
Are you still there, Tommy?
sorry about that.
Okay. We lost you there for a second, but you're back.
Yeah, so
okay.
it was just an incoming call. Sorry. So the next thing I'm saying, sometimes you're hot, right, and sometimes you're cold. And is it a lucky streak? That's what you think. Hey, I'm going good, or I'm going bad. And it's, I come to the conclusion it's not. I'm just not seeing the ball, right? I'm not. Why? And so I talked to a guy I knew, and there's just another guy who was like a professor at a university, a young guy, and he's talking to me about study techniques. And he said when he has to cram for an exam, the one thing he would do, he would hold in his urine. And I said, what? He goes, when you hold in your urine, your brain really focuses, your brain prioritizes, your brain says, okay, go to the washroom. And then you're not going to the washroom. The brain goes, okay, he's not going to the washroom. Why isn't he going to the washroom? Because he wants to read the form. Well, okay, let's really focus on the form or the exam, or, whatever, the book. And and that worked. And then, my doctor stopped me from doing that. So don't do that. That's not healthy. But so one thing I used to do is I would always handicap the night before. And I kind of noticed, sometimes when I handicap in the morning, I do better. So the same guy told me, he goes, do you do crosswords or anything like that? Word searches? I go, yeah, I do. I do crosswords. I like to do, take a shot at the one in the paper. I go, I don't get too far in them. They're pretty hard. He goes, just do them. And he says, the 3-letter word that's, not a dog, but and it's AT. If you come up with cat, and then the next one is, what is the third largest city in Mongolia? If you say, I don't know, and you move on. So your brain is filtering, so you're focusing. So going through crossword puzzles, I figured out the best time was in the morning. That's when my head was clear, and through trial and error, so I know basically for a fact, and it's not every time, but I know my brain is sharp in the morning. So I stopped handicapping at night. I'll look at replays at night. I'll put notes into the form and that and all that stuff, like basically data entry. But the thinking part, the real handicapping or the ticket structuring, I did it in the day. And that really started to click. And, I learned too that if I broke my routine, and I think this is really important, I'd have a routine. And my routine right now is I get up, I have coffee, just relax a little, and then I go for a walk. And I usually get up, I'm a bit hyped up and nervous, and so I go for my walk. And my walk usually calms me down, levels me out. If it doesn't, I do something that I did. I used to suffer for depression. I kind of battle it. And one of the things I do to calm myself down, I will go into the fetal position, and I'm not kidding. I'll play music from 62 to 64 when I was in my mama's, belly, arms, and crib. My mom used to tell me, music used to calm me down when it stopped me from crying. So I learned these things to calm me down, and I get to the track and I'm calm and relaxed and I'm focused. And if I'm not, I really don't want to play because I know what's going to end up happening. I got to be calm, relaxed. I like to be at the track early. I like to sink into the atmosphere, be part of the furniture. I hate playing from home. So you learn all these things on the optimum way to play horses for me anyway. And then another thing, going through dealing with stuff that throw you off now. So, we talk about being hot and cold and all that, but a lot of times everything is good, and you lose a tough photo, you get a DQ, and how do you calm yourself down? So you got to learn to calm yourself down. If you're not calm, you got to stop playing, you got to quit for the day. And so managing all these things that the most horse player doesn't really think about, are all important. And going on that track, I don't know the right terminology, but whether it's serotonin or whatever, the reward receptors in your brain. So
yeah, there's like dopamine and serotonin.
There's all different. Yeah, so all that, I call them just the reward receptors in your brain. And when it comes to gambling, those things don't work alone on winning. They work on the action, the rush, right? And you get, it's easy to get addicted to that rush, and that's where you make action plays. Plays you think, yeah, I don't really like this horse that much. I'll only bet $10 on him. And you're going, it's not a calculator play. It's an action play. It's your brain say, come on, give me some more. Just like doing drugs or sex. It's the same thing. You don't really need it, but your brain is crying for it, and you find a way, and it costs you money. So to get that stuff, I found something that worked, and it works for me. Is I carry this little tube of, it's like like an oil. It's vanilla. And vanilla sets me off. And one of the first girlfriends I had who I was mad about, she always smelled like vanilla. So I get this vanilla and I swear to you, I rub it in my nose and rub it on my mustache and I smell and I go back to her. And that gives me that, that little brain orgasm, I guess is the right way to call it. Right. So it's being aware. Yeah, no, I tell my friends that they think everyone thinks I'm just messing with them when I tell them that, right? They go, "What are you smelling?" I go, "My girlfriend." "Which girlfriend?" "The one I had when I was 16." Here, and they go, "Okay, this guy's nuts," but it really is what it is, right? And and those things getting carried away. And I'll tell you another thing: I try not to watch the races when I'm at the track. I'll listen to them, and when they're halfway down the stretch, I'll put up, if there's something, I'll put up my head and look at the wire. I don't want to get caught up on it. I don't want to get caught up in that, the rushes, the mania, because they throw me off. They throw anyone off. So it's those things that I can't think of anyone else who thinks about those things. I'm sure there is. If you're a real pro gambler, you gotta sooner or later realize that your brain will take you to where you don't want to go. It's going to take you to where you want to go. So I try to, it helps me keep an even keel at the track, relaxed, and to do things right. I think it's paramount to me anyway. And it's more to me. When I say to me, it's because those are the things that cause me ruin and as a gambler. I was at the point where I couldn't stop gambling until I was broken. Just rush, give me that rush, give me that feeling. I want that feeling. So, putting that into check. Yeah, hey, listen, if you're a weekend warrior, good, go have fun and set your receptors on fire, right? But to play right. No, I'll tell you where I have fun. I'll go to when I'm down here in Florida. I used to go to the Dogs, and that's where I can just bet 10 or 20 every and have fun and get off on it. The same with Pompano. I used to love going to Pompano because it wasn't business. It was pleasure. It was just fooling around. So, and not only there's those self-brought on distractions, the worst thing you can do at the track is really go with your friends. Hang out with your buddies, have a few beer, have fun. Who do you like? That. If you want to play serious, it's the worst thing you can do. And it was hard, man, because I grew up with guys at the racetrack. We grew up as little kids together, hanging out at the racetrack, right? And I just said, "You want to hang out with me? You sit there and shut the fuck up." And excuse my language, but but I try to stay away from distractions at the track. And I enjoy, like I said, I enjoy hanging out with, if I'm not playing seriously, I enjoy hanging out with the boys at the track and having fun. So, that's basically, I got, once I got all that under control, the only things, other things to keep your head clear. I went over the action bets. The number one thing I see is like, I don't want to say betting for rebates, but I've seen guys make bets just to reach certain plateaus in their rewards to get to the next level. And that's insanity. It's like, if I bet another $400, I get an extra percentage point, or that kind of stuff is insanity. Worrying about ROI is insanity. I put it in the clutter department. There's, everything that really, there's so much in horse racing that is clutter. Can a 3-year-old beat older horses? Can a filly beat the boys? All this stuff, all this useless stuff that it goes through all our heads, and worrying about anything than the basic, betting right and making money, and it's just can be a downfall. And I know guys who, their downfall is betting for points or betting, to get to that next level, to get their rebate higher. If you bet it and you get there is one thing, and it is a thing in more in Canada. I don't know how it works in the States, but Canada, the more you bet each week, you get to a higher level. And on top of it, you get points on top of your rebate, which is crap in Canada. You get, you get these points. Now you can get forms, and now you can get dinners and all that. And I know guys who basically make silly bets just to get that points.
So you touched on a lot of stuff and a really interesting history, unlike any that I've ever heard. But I want to follow up on a couple of things you said. And first of all, you talked about what you thought were sort of useless things, useless information. What is the useful stuff that you use? You know, what's your approach to that? Talk a little bit about handicapping on what you think is useful and how you approach that, and then also what's useful in terms of the betting. I mean, what isn't noise? What are the things that you do focus on and use?
Well, how to handicap or how to get to winners. I'm sure there's different ways of doing it for sure, and I'm not going to say my way's the only way or that. And I don't really have a way. I've gotten there a million different ways. So I think the focus is, and the game as a whole is missing what we're doing right now, my friend. Because I think gambling is, I used to say 70% of the game. I think it's at least 90% of the game. And I'll say even higher because, like if you just showed up at the track a week ago and you get the form or whatever, you can't really win. But I sit around a lot of guys who can really handicap well, and it doesn't matter. They can handicap better than me, and they still need 3 jobs to feed themselves. So it's gambling, man.
So what's the useful from the gambling perspective then? What information do you rely on to help you? How do you make decisions about what races you're going to bet, what pools you're going to bet into? I mean, how do you get to the point where you're ready to make a bet?
Okay, so I like playing, pick 4s, pick 5s right now. Before it would be doubles and pick 3s because I could really take advantage of where I was betting. But so just say I'll play I'll give you an example. March 18th, Santa Anita Park, which I've been starting to play now. And people can complain about short fields and this, but one thing I really like about Santa Anita is there's no strangling. It is a track that
compared to like New York, where they strangle like crazy.
Everywhere. Yeah. There's no rhyme or reason at Gulfstream, but at Santa Anita, and a lot of it is because I think it's in their heads, and maybe it is. It's like a speed conducive dirt track, and even the turf is pretty fair. It's not speed sometimes. So I just noticed guys have horses that go to the front. They all rock and roll, especially these mile dirt races. They're stacked 4 or 5 wide every turn. I love it, and a lot of times they keep going, but it really makes your trip handicapping, which I love. It's like my bread and butter. Trying to figure out how the race is going to run. At Gulfstream, you try to figure out how a race is going to be run. Good luck, Charlie. Man, it's just I don't really play New York, but I just noticed playing the genesis of me starting to play Santa Anita after all these years was the Golden Gate Santa Anita happy hour thing, right?
Golden hour, yeah. Double and pick 4. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I play the pick 4s and I go, well, I'm good at synthetic, so I should adapt to Golden Gate and 5-minute handicapping. Well, 0 for 2 at Golden Gate, 2 for 2 at Santa Anita, over and over. And this is with no homework, no notes. I'm just picking up the form and basically, playing a $20 or $30 ticket, playing a $10 base bet and spending $20 to $40, or just taking a crack at it for, just for kind of like sitting there with my friends, like kind of an action bet. But my action bets are always, $40 to make 40,000. I'm not looking to hit the ticket. So, anyways, I gave up on that. So now the coast to coast bet. Gulfstream, it's the coast to coast, right? Gulfstream and Santa Anita.
Right. That's the new one they started. Yeah.
Yeah. So here I am. I do all this work at Gulfstream. Same stuff. I get knocked out at Gulfstream. I'm doing well at Santa Anita. So I started focusing on Santa Anita, doing my homework on Santa Anita, doing all my notes on Santa Anita. And I really started to like this track. Yeah, I wish there was more horses, but that's fine. So anyways, on this date, March 18th. Now, I look at the early pick 5 like I always do, and I'll go through it, and what I'm looking for is to find one race to build off of. And even if I find that one race, I don't always play it. So I went through my notes. I went to race 5. This is on March 18th. I had a note on the 3-horse Varoma that, he got a little bump at the start, and he really closed good down the lane. So I know that if he gets something to run at, I look at the form, he's definitely going to get something to run at. I also had a note on a horse that I didn't really like, but he ended up going off at 40-1, the 1-horse Invincibella. So I go, okay, perfect scenario. I'm gonna really key off an 8-1 and just play a baby saver ticket. So if I'm playing $10 or $5 tickets off of the 3 Verona, I can play a 50-cent or $1 ticket off Invincibella, and the math works. So now I got that race. I go to race 1, and if I have a rule, kind of a rule, that if I don't care about the takeout of 15% versus 25% really that much, but if race 1 I got to use 3 or 4 horses, I'm not going to do that. I'll just skip the race, unless they're all prices, right? If they're all 8-1, 12-1 higher, I might play, but I'd rather just skip it and play the pick 4. But I looked at that race. I had a note on number 6, not now, and the race set up for him. So I go, I'm going to single him. I knew he was going to be, 3-5 to 8-5. He went off at even money. So I go, there's a single. I go to race 2, and I didn't have notes, but it looked like a meltdown race. And the 1 Granada Flavor, a fair price. I knew I was going to get a fair price on him. And I go, okay, I'll single him. I just couldn't use, I could have used 2 backups in there, but I'm not going to, if I like a 7-1, nothing lower than 7-1 is really going to hit my ticket, I don't think. Not as a backup. If I like them equally or more is one thing, but I'm not going to, I got a strong opinion on a 7-1. I'm not going to use a 3-1 or 2-1 or a 5, not even a 6-1 as a backup, so I said, okay, I guess I got to key that race. Got to the 3rd race, and there's a horse that I knew would be favored. He ended up being 1-2, the 9-horse Boss Sully. I go, wow. I go, another single. So I'm going, okay. So this is not, etched in stone, but this is my rough copy. Cold, cold, cold. Let me look at race 4. So I look at race 4 and see if I got, first thing I check is if I got notes. I had a note on number 3 Mongolian Panther, but it was an iffy note, and it was going from 6.5 on the turf to a mile. I go, nah, that horse ain't hitting my ticket at any price. And I had a note on number 1 Smooth Like Butter, and Smooth Like Butter, 2 starts back, my note was, bumped hard to start, wide, closed good. I go, perfect. My note, and his next start, which I bet him after that start on February 18, was Hanging Rat, Never Again. So here I have a negative note on this horse, and the more I looked at it, it was like, the 2nd race, all the speed horses, and I couldn't take any, just couldn't make it. I go, well, and this is a race I won by a nose, and he went off at 6-5, right? And I really like Tiago Pereira. He knows how to time them off the pace. I go, okay, even though I had that note, I just can't, you can't just have things etched in stone off your notes. Or you got to be able to adapt, not play them if the pace scenario is not right, or the class is not right, or the surface is not right because you had a strong note. And even though I had a negative note on this horse, the more I looked at it, I go, I just can't use anyone else. They're all going to knock heads. And this horse, I hate to take horses that chug along at 6-5. I love betting 20-1s that just chug along and have to get, and everything felt perfect, So now I got 4 singles, and the race with a strong opinion, I got 2 horses. So I'm starting to think, and I know most people, everyone on the planet, I think, would be looking to add more horses. But I have a different strategy. I said, okay, so race 1, I'm going to play a pick 5. If I lose the pick 5, big deal. All that extra, any extra horse I could have put in anywhere, I can just use that money if I lose race 1 and play the pick 4. If I lose the pick 4, right, in the second race, I still have a ticket that's, I don't know if I would have played it, but 1-2, onto 6-5, onto 8-1, and onto 40-1. I still got to pick 3 that I might, knowing myself, I might have only played it off the 1, which I really didn't like just because of the value. But, I'm not looking to hit pick 3s or exactors that pay $40 or $60 or $80. It just does, kind of not looking to do that. But anyways, I go, so let me lay it out this. So what I ended up doing is I played a pick 5, cold. And in the last leg, when I got there, I go, you know what? I did a $2 all. Cold, 4 colds and all. Now I got a $2 all in the race that I like the most. And then I did a $4 ticket with, I think, 4 or 5 of them. And then I did a $4 ticket with the 1 and 3, the 2 horses I liked. And then I did a $12 ticket with just the 3. I ended up getting it 22 times. 22 times, paid $1,600 for $1. But also at the same time, I'm playing rolling doubles, pick 3s, and pick 4s that were cold, 2 horses, and cold. So even though I spread on that pick 5, I knew that if I got there, I'm probably going to, I'm probably going to still be up money. Like I'm going to be up money for sure. I hit a $65 double. I hit a pick 3 that paid, like $30, and I know I'm gonna hit the pick 4 and pick 5 on that last race. So why not get some, get some more? I was guaranteed in that last race. I think I was guaranteed 4,000 to 6,000. I think it was 4,000 was the worst result in that race. So it's just having notes and opinions and just playing them blindly. You got to adapt. You got to, you do things where in race 2, where I had an 8-1, I'm not going to use a favorite for a backup. But if I'm getting to that payoff race and I'm covering myself, basically that $2 ticket. So without the 2 horses, so it was basically a $12 cover, and then two $12 covers basically to guarantee at least 4,000, which is peanuts. And I don't mind putting myself in that position. I'm not a hedger. I really ain't a guy that's looking to cover with. But I put myself in I got to that race and I go, okay, good move. And when Varoma came in, everyone in Christine Lee's, heard about it at Gulfstream. So I don't know if that made sense, but it's been able to adapt and really just gamble instead of handicap in a way sometimes. You there?
Sorry about that. I was on mute. So I want to follow up a little bit on what you just said to kind of pick on it a little bit. Not pick on it, but make sure I really understand. Your main opinion early on was that 8-1 shot is what got you started on the sequence in the last leg. And then as you start evaluating each race, you kind of landed on a horse that you could lean on in every leg. So you decided just to single them all, get to that last leg. And the only thing I didn't quite follow, because I expected when you got to the last race to say you were going to play those 2 horses you liked in the last leg, but then you spread it into an all. So kind of explain a little bit more about why you did that.
Okay, so the pick that's a pick 5 bet, right? So I played the pick 5. I know if I get there, right? If I get there, I'm also playing outside of the pick 5. I'm playing doubles, pick 3s, and pick 4s. The pick 4 was cold, starting in race 2. It was cold, those two horses and cold onto my strongest opinion. I know I'm going to play that, no matter what the result is in race one, because I'm cold. So I hit the double, I hit the pick three, and that pick three I paid. I didn't think it was going to pay that short, but it's instead of adding other horses, I had opportunities to make more monies on bets I really don't make. And another thing is too, I don't know if that double is going to pay $40, $60, or $180, in this day and age. But anyways, I know if my numbers all come in, I'm going to make a killing. And if I get to that last race and I'm alive, I'll put it this way. I hedged. It cost me like $12 to hedge, where guys will get to that last race. And, guys you see all the time, they're missing the 240 to 1 shots and they put $100 or $20. So I don't mind hedging if it costs me $12, and especially when it's going to guarantee me something. It was a real small percentage of my outlay. Trust me, a real small percentage.
Right, and it was because you had singles in all the other legs, so it was really inexpensive to cover those all with a small play. And then, like you said, you then pressed the ones you liked even in the pick five, but you also had those numbers in the pick four leading into that, and you had made some other bets along the sequence. So
yeah, it's like hedging like that in the first race. No, it might not make sense to some people, but I know if I get to that, if I get to the end off of 4 cold horses, right, I got to get something for that wager. Forget about the other wagers I've already cashed on, but that pick 5 wager, I got to get something. And it's not, I really spent peanuts to cover myself. And it's a good feeling, because I'll tell you, they don't put. I was alive on the one horse in that 5th race. I was alive for more money. On like I had an $8 ticket on him, and it was paying humongous off of that horse. Like, that was a real home run if that 40 to 1 shot gets there. And I didn't think, because he was 10 to 1 in the program. I didn't see him being at 40 to 1. If I made one mistake, is that at the end on that pick 5, the 1 was a better result than the 3.
So
there's 6 to 1 morning line and 10 to 1 morning line, right?
Right.
And I really didn't think the 1 was going to be 40 to 1, 15, 18. You don't, when you think a horse has a shot, you don't really see him 40. So the way I played the ticket, the 3's supposed to be, I thought the 3 would be my best result by a mile. Ended up wasn't. So if I did make an error, that's it. And if anyone thinks the way I laid that out, if shooting $12 to get me back $4,000 for losing minimum is a bad mistake, well, I'll make that mistake.
So is that typical on a pick 5? I mean, you showed me some of your other plays, and they all look similar, if I remember right. Is that kind of the normal structure, where you're not spreading in maybe 1 leg or 2 leg, but you're kind of cold singling typically 2 or 3 legs in the pick 5? Is that normal for you?
Yeah, basically, the way I play, I don't really care. I don't really care about the odds on individual races. I could care less if I have a single that should be 8 to 5 and he's 1 to 5. I could care 2 shits about that one bit. I'm pretty good at looking at the sequence and say, this is a pick 4, this is a pick 5. If any one of my tickets hits, I'm going to make a home run. That's all I need to know.
And that's because you're getting really good value in most of the other legs, right?
Well, whatever you can call it. Put it this way: if you single 5 8 to 1s, right, and they're supposed to be 15 to 1s, and I hit that for $20 or $40, I don't think there's a human being alive who's going to quibble, right?
And so that no, I perfectly I understand what you're saying there. So
yeah,
do you also?
I don't want to. That's clutter. Like if you start thinking of clutter, I look at it. I'll give you an example. First time I bet on races from Dubai, and I think it's the only time. So a friend of mine begged me to take a look at a replay of this horse. He goes, "This horse is a monster. You can beat California Chrome," right? And he just hammered at me and said, "Okay, I'll look. Leave me alone, please." So I look, and I find another horse in the race. And these two replays, the horse did the same thing. Went to the front, tucked in behind horses, and back through the field to last and come flying. And I said to him, I go, "I think you're looking at the wrong horse." Or he goes, "What do you mean?" Right? I go, "Did you see this horse, Prince Bishop?" Right? He kind of that's kind of a big race where you fire out to the lead. You're sitting right behind two horses, and then it's like the horse, swallowed its tongue or something, falls all the way dead last, comes wide and comes flying. And he's going, "Oh, I didn't look at that and this and that." The next day he goes, "You got to read an article," right? And I said, "Okay, again, read this article." So it's the trainer of Prince Bishop saying the horse despises the kickback. And he says, when we run in the big race, we're going to go to last, and the instructions are to go 10 wide. So he said he's going to tell the jockey, go right dead last, 4 or 5 away from the kickback, so it doesn't reach you. And when you make your move, go 10 wide around everyone, avoid the kickback. And I remember I was at Gulfstream Park, and I told my friends, and my friends are pretty good math guys, and I said, "I love a horse today. He's going to dust these horses," right? And he goes, "Do you know what the takeout is on those bets, this and that," right? I said, "Not enough." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "It's 5 minutes to post. I just pounded him, and he's 16-1. I go, "So I could care less if the takeout's 99%. You're giving me 16-1 on a horse that I think is better than California Chrome or just as good as California Chrome? There ain't much for me to think about it." And that horse did exactly what the trainer said, and he went for fun. And it's just, I call it clutter. Yeah, I play a different game. I don't play that EV game where guys are grinding out and making all these show bets and win bets and trying to mooch pennies here and mooch pennies there. Well, how are those guys are doing? See the monster they created. You got these elite guys coming in and coming with 80-man teams of mathematicians and quantum physics guys, and I'm going to play. I never played that game. I'm going to play that game. You want to play that game against them? I don't want to play against them. I know a game I like to play against them. I like to play when there's a pick. Do I play a pick 4, pick 5? Do I want to play in the 15% takeout where they might not be strong in, or the 25% where they might be strong? Well, if I got a horse that I think can, bust them out, I want to play against them. If I got a horse that's, 20, 30-1, that's a single, I want to play against those guys. Because, when you get the horse that's not in their, whatever you call it, that's where you can really get, the only time you can really, I think, get value. I don't really think about them too much, but I'm pretty sure, when I hit Hong Kong, I hit a 60-1 shot, and those are the kind of shots that knock those guys silly because they can't come up with them. I can.
So is there usually a horse like that, and is it takes a horse like that to get you to play the sequence? Some horse where you think
no, not at all. Not at all, because when I was playing back in the day, Woodbine playing offshore, and Woodbine went to the 20-cent pick 4, and it took one day, an eye-opening day, where like 2 30-1 shots came in back to back, and I'm out, and I'm going to get a coffee, and taking the long walk to the Tim Hortons to get a coffee. 3 guys are coming up there. I'm alive, right? And basically, I still remember Steve Ashmanson was there once, and he had a 4 to 5, and like the 3-1 second choice beat him, and that thing came back nothing. Now I'm going, what's going on, right? And I'm starting to think about it. I go, sure, all these Liberaces with these 20-cent bets spreading hit it. So I changed my whole game back then. I didn't mind hitting pick 4s. I hit a pick 4 once, 4 chalks, all paid the cheapest, and they were all picked on top. And that pick 4 came back like $126. $100 cold one was, $12,600. That ain't bad action. You know what I mean? Now in this, this is pre these vultures, right? These criminal vultures, that, with the 20 cents and all that, they just grind you to, you can't play that game, right? The chalk game, I don't really know exactly how they work. I know they basically cheat. They're basically cheating, and I don't know if you're going to get to it, but they shouldn't be allowed in the pools. Anyone who thinks they should be allowed in the pools is out of their mind. Anyone that thinks more people should have access to do what they do are out of their minds. Just kill the game now. Everybody you want to prey. You want to prey on the guys coming to the track with $100. Is that really where this game is going? Is that the American way? Let's prey on these people, make them work at our stores for $7 an hour. Don't give them nothing, and suck the living shit and blood out of them till they die. Is that the game we really want? These guys don't belong in the pools. Not with the advantages they have. They got advantages of money. They got other advantages that I get in life. You earn advantages, but when the racetracks turn the key and open things for them, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's to me, when there's a group like his looking at things, they should be looking at that. And not the guys who are doing this. The guys who are doing this, my hat goes off to them. They're geniuses. They should have statues built about them. You know what I mean? I'll say bad things, but they're not the bad guys. The bad guys are the Mike Rogers for Stronach and the other guy from California, the other guy. All these executives all over the place. I let them in the back door. I wish I came up with it. I wish I could rob the track. I'd love it. It's not a morality thing for me, but, for these guys doing it, they're geniuses. My hat goes off to them. No, they're heroes to me, but the racetrack executives that let this shit go on, shame, 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 man. Shame. I just love to see their bonuses are all got to be all on gross handles.
Well, I was going to ask you at some point what you thought about the computer teams, but I don't think I need to anymore.
Yeah, no, they're great. Listen, they're great. I give them credit. No, I really do give them credit. They're smart people, and really, really found. But it's the people that gave them the access are the bad guys, the criminals, not them.
So, knowing their existence, it sounds like it's changed the way some of the pools that you play in or avoid. Right? Is that a fair to say?
No, I don't know. I kind of put it into clutter, right? The way I play, like I said, the way I play that, you're good at quick math.
I don't know. Arithmetic, you mean? Like adding and multiplying?
So but that pick five I hit, the winners were $4, $16, $3, $4.60, $18. It paid $800 for 50 cents. I think I got pretty good value.
Yeah, and
and I hit a $22 one.
And so you use some low price horses, but you use them as cold singles. So
yeah, and they don't play that game, do they? Right?
Well, it depends on the sequence and the team. But they do look at.
Listen, there's teams, right, and then there's the A teams. You know what I mean?
No, they look at playing weighted combinations, and they're typically playing lots of combinations, but they're just playing some, at a much higher amount than others.
Yeah, so it's kind of the way I play anyway. So it's like, if I can bust them out with a 30-1 shot, and believe me, I'm not just taking stabs at 30-1s. I very rarely find them, but if I do like one, I don't hesitate. I wrap everything around it, and and I'm not surprised when they run up the track. I'll take my shots. It doesn't, like I said, I'm not just searching for them, but if I can, if I can smash something, on a 2, 4, or 6 combination ticket, yeah, why not? You know what I mean? I don't think they're gonna hurt me. You know what I mean? And if I step it up, I might hurt them. You know what I mean by hurt. I'm not gonna hurt them, but I can, for one sequence, take a $50 bill out of their pocket.
So you mentioned like finding a 30-1 shot. Can what are the kinds of things that would lead you to a 30-1 shot? I mean, I know probably a lot, but is there like some examples where this is why I like this is the kind of 30-1 shot I might key in a pick 5 or a pick 4?
most long shots I found, if you want to put them into one category, it's the meltdown.
So the closer into the hot pace kind of scenario.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? I kind of keep track of horses that make big runs in the stretch, and you just got to be patient and really wait for the right price and the right setup. Because horses can fly like rockets down the stretch every day. If they don't get the right setup or in the right class, they're not going to get there. But you get a real big price, and that was that Granada Flavor. Didn't look like much, but he was a horse that could, that comes. You know what I mean? And especially the Varoma in the 5th race. This horse comes, but you have to get that setup, and you got to be patient to get it. A lot of times, I'm hoping horses like that, come 3rd, 4th, 5th, 4 or 5 times in a row, and people take a look at the form, a quick look at the form without doing the work, and they look like like hangers, like peace horse. You hear them say peace horses. Well, if to me, if a horse at 30-1 is a peace horse, he finds his way to the top of the list real fast with me. I don't got to bet as much money if I don't really like him that much. It's too a 30-1 shot. Am I spending $40 in a pick 4 with a 40-1, or am I spending $400? There's, and sometimes with the $40, you got to weigh it. I can make a nice score with this.
So it does sound like, though, you focus on, like right now, I know you focus on Woodbine when they're running. It sounds like you kind of have landed on Santa Anita. Is there just like 1 or 2 tracks that you're playing, or
yeah,
are you...
I'm pretty sure I've kind of had enough of Woodbine, because the 3 surfaces really, and it's the same thing at Gulfstream right now. I don't mind synthetic. I don't mind turf really, but when they're going from synthetic to turf, you see these races are going up and down in class. They're going from synthetic to turf, and it's just mind-boggling sometimes. How do you, and then I don't know how guys who use speed figures, or whether it's buyers or rags or thoroughgraphs. I know if you're using them at Woodbine, you're getting friggin' slaughtered, because no, really, you just see, like, you see sometimes and you see a horse that's 5-2 in the program, looks like a standout because he ran a certain distance on this course compared to the other horses that ran a half furlong shorter on the other course. His number is 12 points lower, you know what I mean? And it's just a mismatch. It's just mind-boggling to try to correlate what's a speed figure at Woodbine on the synthetic, the inner turf, and outer turf, because it's 3 different distances that basically all the horses, 3 different surfaces that almost all the horses run at. So Gulfstream, you got dirt horses, and then you got the horses that run on the other 2 surfaces, really, right? But at Woodbine, you got 80% of the colony, they run on all 3. And how do you gauge all 3? And that inner turf course, I hate it. It's just impossible to handicap. If you're an all player, that's for you. You know what I mean? Press the all button, get an accident, and get a bomb. That's not my type of game. And it just really try to avoid it. I try to wait for days where it's, rained out. I'm praying for rain, and I love the sun, so to play. So I don't know. I'm really starting to get interested in Santa Anita a lot. And I've really I love going there. It's a beautiful place. And I've never really focused on it. And, years ago, I used to just bet the hill races. I had a little, thing going on the 6.5 on the hill. I used to try to just play those races. I like those races because you can hit some nice, the opposite of what Marshall said last week. He's looking for less things to go wrong. And then that hill, I was looking for more things to go wrong, and try to get that, find the 30-1 that's really 4th choice, and hope 3 of them get into a K-Bosh around the turn onto the dirt and that. But I was messing around with that and catching some big numbers, but really never played Santa Anita. I really like that they just go. they go. That's all I want. I want that race I picture in my mind to, somewhat resemble what goes on the track.
It's funny that you say that because, when I first started playing horses, California was the main tracks I played, and they went a lot harder than they do today. Back then they would send everything in just about every race, so you would have loved it back then. It was definitely a different game. So, if you like those kind of meltdown races, do you play? We've talked about horizontal bets. Do you make vertical bets very much? If so, what kind of pools?
No, I don't like exactors. I don't like trifectas, superfectas.
You're just all about the picking the winner and stringing them together.
Yeah, I'm the kind of guy. I don't mind investing 300 in a sequence, key in a 7-1. He wins by 10. I'm out the next race. I lose 300. I can live with that. It's the way I play. I'm just looking to, hit home runs and that. So I know a lot of guys can't stomach that. It takes a long time to get used to something like that, but I'm used to it. So I just don't, if
as long as you have vanilla on your mustache, you can handle it, right?
Yeah, I keep my mind. I really, if I get angry at the track, it's like 3 seconds, and then I'm just back to normal. Or else I just go home. Very rare that I go home though. But I learn how to just keep myself calm and relaxed, and that, and I just know it's a long game, and I play a different long game. I'll give you an example, guys. So I'm pretty good at math. And I know if I go into a crap table and I bet hard 4s and hard 10s, the odds aren't that kosher. But I also know that if you look at odds over a long span, yeah, you're going to get killed. But I go into a casino, I don't go often, but if I go, I just bet $50 hard 4, $50 hard 10, and I let it roll till I take all the chips or I lose. And I've gotten to the max of enough times to where I'm ahead of the game, even though the math says I shouldn't be ahead of the game. Because I'm not running it 10,000 times. I've run it 60 times. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, no, when you're talking about low probability events, there's certain runs where you're going to hit a string where it's profitable, but like you said, if you play long enough, your profit will disappear.
Oh yeah, if you're gonna sit there and just play hard 4 and hard 10 all day, but I make one bet, I lose, I stop. Right. I might not make another bet for a while, but it's just you want to call it lucky, whatever. I don't call it. You can call it lucky, but when I did it at the NHC. I think I can't remember the hotel, but they gave us $100 chip in the swag bag.
Right, I remember that.
I went to the washroom. I came back. I saw a crap table. There was only a couple people on it, and I put my $100 chip. I said 50 hard 4, 50 hard 10, working. It took about 4 minutes to me to get to 8,000, and I remember the dice rolled off the table. 4 on the table, 3 on the floor. That's 7 out. Didn't count. I took my money and I went up and continued with the contest.
Well, that's definitely lucky.
But if you bet 50 hard 4, right? And now you got 400, and then now you split that to 200, and you get 1,600. You let it ride?
I probably wouldn't be at the craps table to begin with, Tom.
Yeah, not either. I was taking a whiz. But I'm just saying is, I've seen. I'll tell you a story. I seen a guy in Atlantic City years ago. He took all the chips. He took all the chips at the back at the blackjack table. Somebody I know took all the chips. He just kept letting it ride, and he had more guts than me, because when he got to the limit, he got another guy to sit beside him and bet the limit again, and then he got another guy to bet the limit again, and then bum, and he had all the chips before he lost the hand.
That's pretty amazing.
You just got to let it roll, man. You got to let it roll. I don't know the math on it, right? But short-term math, you can beat bad math. Long-term, no, of course not.
So let's get back to the horse race betting. Do you bet pretty much the same amount on your pick fours and pick fives, or do you vary it?
Oh,
No,
no.
what's the most you put into it, or the least, and how do you decide how much you're going to play?
It's really, it's, if a small bet can make me a score where I'm not super confident, it's worth it for me.
So what's a small bet? Give me an example. I mean, you don't have to, but if you would, like, what would be a small bet for you on a pick five or a pick four?
Well, today when I left, before I left, I bet Santa Anita. I bet a $10 pick five that cost $40, and then I did another press that cost $20 for $10. So I could have hit it for $20. The ticket cost me $60, and I didn't win, but I had in the sequence a 9, a horse that lost at 9-1. I had another one later that was 4-1. Another one that was, so it was like, it's going to pay something.
So what about one that you like more? Like how much would you be playing in a sequence you really like it?
Well, if you're playing, another thing too is, Santa Anita's got real short fields, right? So my tickets are real short, and basically, it's different. Like, I'll put it this way. When guys have, they do the A, B, and C.
Right.
Well, I don't really. It kind of automatically registers with me, but my scale is like 1 to 100 on an A. I got an A that's 100, an A that's a 1. It's like everything is different, right? It's how much I like each horse in this sequence in the first pick four compared to the late pick five. It's always different. I have no template, that's for sure.
And just kind of go by feel and what
yeah
how many horses are...
There's no really one thing I like I said, if there's a pick five in race 1 and a pick 4 in race 2, I will try to go a skinny in the first leg for sure, or I'll skip it and play the pick 4. I'm not going to use 5 horses in the first leg of pick 5 too often, that's for sure.
Yeah, it does sound like one thing you like to do is maybe be aggressive in the first leg of the pick 5, and if you don't hit it, just play the pick 4.
Yeah, the pick 4, just because of that, why should I play a 50-cent pick 5 with 6 horses when I could play a $3 pick 4, and especially if the horses I got in the first leg, really where 3 or 4 of them,
right.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 of them are going to put me a step backwards even if I catch.
Right. So you might go with the one price horse in that first leg.
You got it. Exactly. Yeah. Take a small bet. If I lose, okay, now the pick 4 is still playable and there's still money to be made.
Okay, great. We've talked about fixed odds at one time. That was a big part of your game, and a big part of your success.
I'll tell you another thing on fixed odds, right? So I'll give you the guy who told me about it. He goes, you heard about fixed odds and blah, 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 and we're looking into. So he started playing first. So what he did was he made a big bet on a 2-horse parlay, and one of them won, one of them ran nowhere, but he got value on both of them. So, if he was getting 6-1 on both of them, they both went off lower than 6-1. And they cut him off. He lost money and they cut him off. And I started to think about that. I go, yeah, well, I said, why did you go for the throw right away? So when I opened up with Bet365, they had a thing. I think it was like, you deposit 200 and they matched it, right? So I went through my 200 playing, I call them cartoon sports. virtual motocross racing, virtual horse racing, virtual tennis, 2 cartoon characters playing tennis or motor, all these stupid games, right? And I'd play those at $5, $10. It'd be a tennis, tennis would last 12 minutes or 8 minutes. And I bet on all these stupid things, and you hit some, you win some. I'm sure they had the takeout. It was like betting anything else. I hit some, I win some, and slowly they grinded me to zero. And then they gave me the 200, and I did the same thing. And when I lost the 200, I knew what was going to happen. I waited a week, so they sent me a $20 bonus. That $20 bonus, I remember, was the first horse bet I made. And I remember it was Saratoga. David Jacobson had a horse off a layoff going from non-winners of 2 to like 20 claiming off a layoff. And he was 2-1 in the program, and sitting at 7 minutes to post, he's 7-1 on the board, and he's like 2-1 or 5-2 at Bet365. So I keyed around him. I did some parlays off him. So I took the absolute worst of it and played like that and played like that and played like that. And I don't know if I was doing the right thing or not, but I'm pretty sure I did, because now I think I went off their radar. I got classified into the fish category.
I was going to say the chump.
Yeah.
The official chump.
So one day, thank God for degenerate friends, the guy phones me and says, "Who's the speed in race 6 at Finger Lakes?" And I told him, I go, "Please, do me a favor, kill yourself. Leave me alone, calling me Tuesday for Finger Lakes." And he said, no, please, do me a favor. So I look. I go, "I don't know. There isn't no speed." He said, "The 3 is lone speed." I go, "I don't think so." He goes, "It's the wrong form. The RF put the wrong PPs in, right?" I go, "You sure?" So now I look and I go watch the replays. And sure enough, this horse was right on the front, like every start. So I got this horse. I got I can't remember. I got real big value on this horse, and I hit him for 47,000. I win a photo. I put a couple races together with him being the key. I hit for like 47,000, missed another one. Next day, they let me bet 72 cents.
Which is always the lament about fixed odds. So you tried to play it so that you could make a big score before they shoot you out.
Yeah, and because my friend got shut down losing just for abusing their numbers, right? So that's what he got shut down for. It's not winning or losing, but if you're getting 10-1 on 8-5 shots, they're going to get shut down fast, even if they lose, right? Because
Right.
And then the guy I sat with every day, I said to him, I go, "You want to open up a Bet365 account?" He goes, "I've been playing with them for years." I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." So that's where I hit that $100 per. I made a deal with him that I'd give him 25% of the profits when he got shut down. And so when I bet that $100 for 127,000. First thing he called me and said, "There's a buyout of like 24,000. I go, "I'll kill you if you don't even come close to that computer." I go, "I don't want no buyout." So next day,
you mean with like a leg remaining in the sequence?
Yeah, or 6-1 morning line firster that I heard on that paid $4, right? And anyway, I wasn't taking it even if he was, whatever. I just don't. That's not me. I like to gamble. So, anyways, the next day he goes, "I hope you're not upset at me." I go, "Do you have my 120-something?" He goes, Yeah. I go, "Okay, I'm not upset at you." I go, "So what did you do?" He goes, "I bet it for $125. I go, "Why would it be upset?" He goes, "Yeah, exactly. You don't have to give me 25%. I go, "I love you. Upset at you." I go, "You're the perfect husband or wife." Right. So, and then I did it again and again and again. And then one day Woodbine is off the board. So I don't know if that had anything to do with anything, but Woodbine was off the board, and I was really just hitting them at Woodbine. So I got to the point where I didn't really want to go too far on trusting people. I knew who I could trust and who I couldn't really.
So I want to move on to a couple other questions. You talked about you had to treat it like a business. That was one of the aha moments that you had early on when you were telling kind of your origin story. What does that mean? Like, what do you do to treat it like a business that you weren't doing before?
Well, just as we had a business really that wasn't run like a business. So doing those, the communication and the collaboration and all that, but basically knowing that couldn't take days off. I would take days off, slack sometimes on the work, right? That come Monday and Tuesday, I have to do my replays and all that, and just really focus on it. Do a lot of things. Get rid of all the other, stop playing all the other tracks and stop doing all this, and you know approach the game sober and all that. All the little things. If you want to just applying it to every little business, just doing things
Professionally, it sounds like.
Professionally, taking things seriously. Because you start playing horse. Horse is always a fun thing. Horses is always, a certain thing. It's not too many people take it seriously. And I think even if you're a weekend warrior, you should go in there on Saturday and take things seriously.
All right, no, that makes perfect sense. So, how much time when you were at it full time did you spend in a week, on racing?
I got to do things. I really got to be efficient, and it's comes from systematic laziness and procrastination. So I'll give you one example. So I would watch replays, and so race one at Woodbine, the 2-horse, I'd write down. Took a bump out of the gate, rushed up, checked, got loose late, made a big run, and make detailed notes. And then I got to the point where, what am I doing that for? Because now 3 weeks later, when that horse runs, I know I never just read the note and went with it. I watched the replays again. So my note would be in the note box on like HPI or I Bet at Woodbine. My note used to be just like I'd hit any key on the computer, put the star thing there. So all I knew is when that horse ran next time, there was something to watch. Because no matter how detailed my note was, I had to watch it again, pan shot, head on, and again, you know what I mean? So it's no use wasting time writing these notes. If a horse, so this is what it would be. I'd have a piece of paper and a pen and write down Woodbine and write down 1 for race 1. The gate and open 2 and 3 would bump. I just write down 2, 3. The 4 did something, write 4, and then just put a little there. And Woodbine, there's a star you click to show you got a note. In the note box, I would just click any key just to register it. And that's it. So I had notes on 2, 3, and 4. Next time when they ran, I'd look at them closer. So that saved a lot of time.
So any other big time savers that you developed over time?
Yeah, when you look at a race and you go, oh, yeah, the 4, yeah, I think maybe the 7, 8 out, races out, bye.
So if it's kind of confusing, to you, that's a signal to just move on to the next race.
Yeah, and then and then if I get I do race the first race of the pick 4, I like something. The next race is a blank. The next race is a blank. I won't give up yet. I'll go to the last race. If I say, okay, I got a 4-1 singled in the first leg. I got 8-1 and 18-1 in the last leg. Let's do something here. We can do something here. If I've got strong opinions on those horses, I can still do something. I can still, let's say, play, say the numbers are 1 in the first leg and 2, 3 in the last leg. I can play 1 all 2, 3 for 50 cents. 1 all 4, 5, 6, 7 with 2, 3, and just scale it right down, right? And scale it right down to the last ticket, which is going to be 1 with 2, with 2, 3, with 2, 3. And now I write all these tickets down, my little pyramid, and I'll look at them and factor the odds in, and I'll say, nah, man, that's stupidity. F that. So what I start doing then is the top line, which has the most coverage, that 1 with 2, 3, I'll put a line through that bet. So now I got the bets that are one with 4 horses, with 2 horses, and then I got one with 4 horses with 2 horses, and I got that. And then I'll do the presses under that, then I'll look at that, and I'll say, no. So then I'll take those 2 lines out. So there's no more alls now. So it's 1 horse by 4 by 4 by 2. And then the presses under that, and I'll say, yeah, you know what? If I hit this, it's going to come back good, and I can play it now because I got rid of those big tickets. Now, instead of playing the tickets for 50 cents, $1, $2, $2, $4, I can now play these tickets for $4, $8, $16, and okay, I can do that. Or I can just throw the whole thing in the garbage.
Yeah, and that's a little hard to follow, but we did talk about the pick 5 in a blog piece that I wrote when I had interviewed you on that, Tommy. And that pyramid approach. So I'll tweet out a link for anybody listening.
Yeah, no, I'll just explain it a bit clearer. So my original ticket is just say cold, all cold, right?
Right. So you've got 2 strong opinion and 2 races, and 3 of them you're just kind of spreading right now, right?
Yeah. So I write that down. So now what I'm going to do is weigh those 2 alls, right? And so now the next ticket is going to be cold, say 4 horses in each leg, right? And the way I'll write them down is cold 4 horses all, cold all 4 horses cold, and keep breaking it down. And if it doesn't make sense, the top tickets, which is the most expensive tickets, I get rid of those. Because every time I get rid of those, now I can play the press tickets a lot more. And at some point, if I edit, it might get down to the last ticket where I went from cold, all cold to cold by 2 by cold, right? So there's 4 combinations. The press is cold, 2 horses, cold, 2 horses, cold, and cold.
Right. So by the time you get to the end, you're kind of singling across, and you're spreading out on each layer of the pyramid. You're spreading a little bit more in the spread legs.
Yeah, and if I can't, I never get rid of the thinnest tickets. I get rid of the fattest tickets first.
Right. You prune the base off before you prune the tip. Right. You're going to leave that tip no matter what.
Yeah. I chop the tree and just keep the fruit.
I like that. All right, but you did never answer the question about how much time you spend or were spending when you were at it full time.
Okay, so
how many hours a week are we talking about, or hours a day, however you want to break it down?
Okay, so the night before, for one track, depending on how many replays, from 15 to 40 minutes just watching replays. Sometimes there's only a couple replays because I already got the replay work done. So it's just the noted ones that I got to look back on, right? And then that's about it. If I get, if there's any kind of reports or something that I got to add on, right? Or biases or whatever else, that's just data entry. So the night before, it's never over an hour. And I'll go to the track and I basically get to the track. I'm ready to go. And I fly through 10 races basically and in 20 to 30 minutes and write basically, if it's 10 races, I write my pick 10 out. And then I kind of then break down which I can put it this way. When I'm playing the Breeders' Cup contest, you give me Friday, Saturdays, I'll sit down for 20 minutes. I already know what race I'm going into. That's what it takes me. And it's just how I play it, and that is the time-consuming thing. I handicap lickety split, so an hour the night before, an hour and 20 minutes the day of, and then off when I'm not working, let's just say, the replay work, how long it takes to watch 40 or 50 races. that's, what can that be? 2-3 hours, 4 hours at the most. I don't know.
So it sounds like maybe 3 to 4 hours a day. Is that fair?
Yeah, at the most, man. I don't. If I have to work more than 20 hours, I'd find something else. I don't want to work. I'm doing this not to work, right? It's just, you know what it is. I'll tell you. I'll tell you something too. This is something I really left out that's important. So I always thought, I used to think I kind of had ESP, and it was Woodbine. I remember it was a Woodbine mile pre-COVID, and I did a seminar with Patrick Cummings and Peter Fornatel. I'm not sure if there was anyone else there. And we went through the card that day. And when we got to the Woodbine mile race, I knew Patrick did his homework on the shippers from Europe. And I really didn't have an opinion. I basically said, the only thing I could come up with, I pitched 1, 2, and 4, like out of a 11 horse race. So there's a handicapping contest that day. I walk up, I'm in a conversation at a table, joking around. And as they're loading, I get up and I walk and I bet the one horse, a horse that I said I didn't like. And I ended up coming second in that contest, betting that horse. I just got nosed out. And I sit down and the horse wins. And I said I can't remember if it was Peter or Pat was at the table. I go, I just bet the one. And they're going, didn't you say you didn't like that horse? I go, I don't know what the frig happened. I just got up and bet him. It just, I had to go. And then when I thought about it, I know I mentioned also De Silva had big day, had big days on those days when all the other, foreign jockey, I don't know. I really still don't know how. So I'm in Florida, like a year or 2 years later. And a friend of mine said, I want you to introduce you to someone. So we went and had dinner at his friend's house. And this guy was like one of the big hedge fund investor in Canada. And we just started talking. And I told him about this. He goes, no, you don't got ESP. Explain to me how the left side of the brain and the right side of the brain works, and how I can't remember exactly. He goes, like, it's the right side of the brain is like when you're watching replays and doing the form and all that, the right side of the brain.
It's the other side. It's the other way, actually. The left.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The other.
Yeah.
And then he said, he goes, what happens is you let your other side of the brain that's basically on automatic pilot go. And that brain, you already did that work. You just weren't part of the equation on race day. And that's what happened. And I started more thought about it and kind of read an article about it. Jonathan Stetton, Past the Wire, had some guy that wrote an article, something similar. I'm going, yeah, that's it. And I'm going, you know what? You call it gut feeling or whatever. I've always gone with it, and he explained it to me, and it makes a lot more sense than a gut feeling or ESP, right? There's some kind of, and that's kind of thing. I don't really second guess myself. I kind of look at it, yeah, kind of works for me, and I just fire, and I don't press on. I'm done.
No fear. Just follow your instinct or your intuition.
Yeah, it's done. When it makes more sense that it's actually your brain doing it for you, kind of easier to go with it than, gut feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But the research also says you're not born with that, really. You develop that over time. So you've watched enough races, made enough bets, learned enough lessons so that your subconscious can process those things, and then your gut or intuition follows that. But it's learned. It's not like it's something that you just born with. You develop that over time so that you can trust your judgment, your intuition. But you probably wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been nearly as reliable when you first started as it was, now. If that makes any sense.
All it takes is, other than the clarity of someone explaining it to me, is having success with something, right?
Yeah, you build confidence if you.
Yeah, and I'll tell you another thing. You just said that word, man. I didn't bring it up, but I'll tell you a story. So when I was betting with my partner, and I noticed, like, a lot of the horses I'm coming up with, they're getting smashed. Like, I go, who's betting these horses? So, and I would always tell my partner, I go, you telling anyone these horses? right? Meanwhile, I'm on a 6 weeks losing streak. He goes, anyone I told's already jumped off a bridge. He goes, you haven't cashed a ticket in 6 months and you think people are following you? So it's always having that confidence that no matter how bad you're going, if you don't walk into that track thinking you're going to kill them, turn around. And I have that. I convince myself. It's all part of my routine. I go into the track every day thinking I'm going to kill them. And, I go through the way I play. I probably go through more losing streaks than, more, I wouldn't say losing streaks, but more days without cashing a ticket than the regular Joe.
Oh yeah, definitely the aggressive way you play. If you didn't, you would be, incredibly, unrealistically successful. You're playing the long game, like you said. So you're
Yeah,
not
you got to
trying
be
to
able
cash
to.
tickets.
Yeah, you got to stay. It's either stay confident or stop, right? And
Yeah,
it's like anything in life, right? Anything in life, you got to have confidence.
And it's the long game. I mean, you said it a couple times. You just can't let yourself give in to that, immediate gratification that long term is going to kill you. You've got to be able to forego that and recognize that to be successful, got to focus on the long term and not just try to cash every ticket.
Yeah, and it's that partner I had, right? No matter how bad we went. And he said, listen, he goes, I never seen anyone in my life that comes up smelling roses like you. Stop moaning. He goes, don't worry. And I took a while to buy into it. And whether it's true or not, you have to buy into it. And you know what? You have to buy into it if you're good. You also have to treat yourself with a dose of reality. If you keep losing, I'd find a good friend in Miami with them. You know what that is?
I'm afraid to ask.
Oh, no. It's so I know two guys who do it. So what they do is on Saturdays they come to the track and they both got a good amount of money and they both really never win at the horses. So they'll take every track that moves and they'll write a horse down in every race. And they'll book each other's 2 across or 5 across bets, or I don't know how they did 2 across and then 1 race 5 across, 1 race on every track that Saturday from noon till midnight, and they book each other's bets. And it's called Miami, right? And that's all. And all they did, they knew they were real good friends, and they knew one of them, no one was going to take that money except one of those two. And they had the greatest fun ever, and they really. And my friend said, he goes, he can beat me 8 times in a row, and it's a lot better than losing it to the track.
Yeah, that's interesting. I haven't heard that before, but it sort of makes sense. All right, I want to move on to a couple topics we've touched on. I mean, I know that you've played foreign races before because you had $1 million pick 6 at Hong Kong. Is that something you still do? Do you still play Hong Kong or any foreign tracks? And if so, how do you approach those differently? How is it different than U.S. racing, and how big of a part of your game is it?
Well, the only thing I really like playing at Hong Kong is the pick 6, and the odd time to pick 3. But basically, what I'll do is I click on my Hong Kong icon on the computer, go to the next card. If there's a carryover, I usually play it. There's a real good chance, unless it was like previous card was all weather. I'm not a fan of all weather racing there, just because there's not enough form. They almost never run on it. So if there's a carryover in the pick 6, I'm definitely playing. If not, if there's no carryover and I've got time, I'll kind of take a look at it. But it takes me a couple days to do the pick 6, and it's I don't want to do it in like there's no carryover for this weekend, and I know tomorrow I'm going to be at Gulfstream early with a bunch of friends in the dining room. It's going to be a long day. I'm not going to look at it. But if there was a carryover, I'd be looking at it from yesterday and just see if I can put something together. It's real tough. If it really looks tough, and I might not play it. I most likely won't play it. But if I think I can, have the horses there that could really do something, why not? It's I spent 800 to get it. I spent a lot more to play it. I spend less to play it, but you're betting horses, and you got a real fair chance to change your life, really.
So, do you approach it the same way you do race in the United States, or what's
No,
what?
no. Because I'll tell you what. See, the the way it works in Hong Kong is the pick six is actually a place pick six. So there's like a 25% takeout, and half the pool goes to it's called the pick six, which is a place pick six. As long as you run first or second in every race, you hit that. But if you get all 6 winners, that's where the other half of the pool clicks in. It's the bonus, they call it, right? So you can look at it both ways. It's, but that's the way they word it, right? But it's a pick six, and the consolation is you have to come second in every race. So after the 25% takeout, half the pool is the pick six, and the other half is place pick six. So a lot of times, you can, depending on it, you see that horse that he might not be the right value, and he's more like, a horse that, he's going to be right there, but not worth it at that price. I don't mind throwing those in if I already using 4 or 5 horses, because that might turn that place pick six into hitting it 4 times or 8 times. So there is some kind of different way of looking at it. Sometimes sometimes I will play it the way I do with a bunch of, presses. But I'd say 60 to 70% of the time I just play one Neanderthal ticket there. It's worth it.
And it pays out differently because, like you said, you could cash even if you didn't have a single winner. I guess you could.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never played the pick six in Hong Kong, but the racing product is good for sure. I mean, in terms of quality of racing, and but did you have to go through any kind of adjustment to learn those horses? Do you go off of watching the races or off information? I'm just curious.
Okay, so when I started playing it, I reached out to Patrick Cummings, and I said, I know he used to work there, and he plays it. And I said, when you have time, can you explain to me what's important on the website and what isn't? Because there's just too much info there, right? So, the gentleman that he is, he's took his time, and that's the whole thing is the first step to play Hong Kong. You need somebody who's very patient, and that's probably not, I'm not the best teacher of that, but because what I'll do is I'll tell you what I look at, and Pat told me what everyone looks at, and that's kind of important. The important thing, Pat emphasized that on certain tracks and courses, the inside position is really important. And weight is important. So, me, I want to play the 12 hole carrying 138 pounds, right? Because just so you get the value sometimes. The horses draw the rail on at
Shaw 10.
No, I think it's Happy Valley.
Okay.
Yeah, on the, I call it Wednesday and Saturday. The Wednesday track, it's like the smaller track, the tighter turns. Horses draw the rail and they get overbet, and sometimes it does a trick for them. And they have a rating system there. If you're low rated, you carry, the horse can carry, they carry from 135 pounds to 112 pounds in the same race. And it's common, right? They're, the one horse is not post position one. It's the one horse carries the most weight, then the 2, all the way down to the 12 and 14. So it's a lot more. So I kind of throw a lot of that out of the way, because I know if I got the 12 hole and I'm carrying a lot of weight, I'm going to probably be, it's going to be a push with the odds, right? So, but just learning all those things, learning how the people play, and and all that, and plus learning the website. Just too much on there, and without Pat, I don't hit the pick six. That's God's honest truth. And I said it before about collaborating. I try. If I think anyone has something to offer, I want to learn from them. Until I shoot 18 every time, I'm still going to take golfing lessons. In other words.
That's something I would definitely second. That there's a lot you can learn from just about anyone if you listen. Sometimes it might be learning what not to do, but it's still learning.
100%. 100%. That's, you took the words out of my mouth. It's everybody has something to offer that can make you better. Everyone. And when I hear someone say, "Oh, that guy, that guy that's giving out the picks," "Oh, is he ever bad?" This and that. That doesn't go far with me. I usually just ram it down their throat. There's not. I don't like. I'll talk from the tracks. Fairgrounds, Churchill, Santa Anita. Well, maybe I don't know much about Santa Anita. I haven't really watched them, but Gulfstream. Whoever has been at Gulfstream, whether Ron Nicoletti, Brian Nadeau, the girls on there, they do their friggin' homework, man. They do their homework. They really apply themselves to their trade. And if you think it's easy to pick 10 races, first, second, third, fourth, 2 days in advance, yeah, it's not easy. It's a thankless job, but they all do their work. And I sit there and I listen to all of them. I listen to Samantha, Angela, Acacia when she was there, Rom. You never know where somebody can put you on the, and you can go,
All right, well, let's move on to a couple things that I want to touch on before we get into our example. Record keeping. It sounds like you take some notes on trips and things. Do you track your results on your wagering and use that at all to adjust what your play is?
I basically, you come to know, you come to know what you're good at and what you're not good at, right? And I try to, I know I'm not good at a 1.5-mile turf race, but who is? We all have the same issues. 5-furlong turf races, but I try not to let it get in my head too much. So I kind of know those little things, but I kind of just probably don't pay. But as for keeping records on how well I do, I use the Kelvinator method.
Okay, enlighten me.
Yeah, Kelvinator is an old fridge. I just look in the fridge, and that tells me how good I'm doing. I could care less about the last thing I need to waste time, right? Especially living in Canada and not having to pay taxes on gambling winnings.
Don't rub it in.
No, I know, but I'm just saying is, what purpose is it for me to waste time to see? I basically know I'm horrible at Tampa and New York, so I don't play them.
But how did you find out that you were horrible at Tampa? And
Tampa, I've just basically never even cashed the ticket. So I'm not too stubborn. I learn quick. I used to bet New York, basically betting on crooked trainers who like to light up the board. And there was no doubt in my mind they were doing it. And right now in New York, just a lot of stuff smells there. So I just avoid it like the plague.
So Mr. Belmont's not playing Belmont anymore?
Yeah, I don't want to mention names because some of them are still training. But I used to get in the middle Wednesdays in Toronto. The middle of the racing form would have all the charts from all over North America, and I'd pull out the Belmont or Aqueduct charts, and I just keep a list of all the trainers that came first or second. I think I had it at 18-1 or higher. So anytime a trainer came first or second at 18-1 or higher, I used to keep a little book with their names and see, and pretty soon, you get a list of 3 or 4 guys. And when the guy that, when there's top trainers and this 4% trainer is at the top of the list of 20 to 1 shots, you kind of easy to focus on that guy. You know what I'm saying?
So is there any of them, so you won't give away any secrets you can still cash in on, is there any of trainer that was on your list that no longer trains? I'm just curious if you have any examples.
I'm going to check if he's alive. Put it this way, one of the stables' name was Karakoram.
Okay, Karakoram Racing. All right.
Another one. The owner was Ernie Paragello.
All right. I don't want to push you on. I just was curious.
I'm giving you because I don't know. I know one of them. He's still around, so I'm not going to say nothing. And the other one, probably my favorite trainer of all time, and I would never say his name because I just wouldn't. And I think a couple of his family members know me, and I'm friendly with them, so I've never said it to them, and I won't say it to anyone else.
All right. Well, let's move on because a couple more things. It doesn't sound like you do this, but there's a lot of these big days now where not just the Breeders' Cup and the Derby, but almost like this weekend at Gulfstream is going to be a big day of racing at Florida. They stack the cards. Do you target those? Do you just ignore them if it's not a track you normally play? Do you approach it any differently? I'm just curious what you do with those because now they're pretty prevalent.
Well, I looked at tomorrow's. Well, I'm not playing Oaklawn, that's for sure. I just don't play it. Just I don't do well at. I don't do well at, and I don't push. So, I looked at Gulfstream, and I already know at Gulfstream I won't be able to string any pick 4s or 5s together. Maybe the late one, maybe. I'm not sure, but I took a rough look at it, and I have no real strong opinions. Well, so I might just make a list of 4 or 5 horses and just start doing $50 parlays. But most of my time at Gulfstream tomorrow, I'll be looking at Santa Anita, getting ready for them to start. So
you're not really tempted unless it's like next weekend where Santa Anita has its big card.
Even that, it makes. I don't mind playing. I'd rather play Wednesday's 5,000 Louisiana Breds than the Louisiana Derby.
Got it.
And you know what? And if I really wanted to, if the stumbling block was the big pools, right? I got Hong Kong to play big pools twice a week. And if I'm not going to go down that path, but if I wanted to go back to the offshore world, I don't need big pools to make scores.
So it really doesn't influence your play.
Pool, yeah, that big pool thing. Oh, there's a big pool, big schmeals. And I think, I don't know, I can't remember if you talked about it. Like I said to everyone, like when I wasn't informed when this jackpot pick 6 first came out, I could care less if it was a mandatory. If it was a Thursday with 100,000 in there, and I love the sequence, and I could play a $4 one, and get some value where everybody's spreading for 20 cents, I'll play it on the day I got a strong opinion. You can have a $10 billion carryover. Now, I won't play it now because of principle. Let me make this point. Anyone who plays a jackpot pick 6 mandatory, right, deserves the worst luck for the rest of their life, because you are the problem, not you personally, but I'm just saying, whoever plays these mandatories are the problem. As long as people play the mandatories, they're going to keep them there, and executives say, look, everyone plays them. This chance of a jackpot, chance of a life-changing score that we pay out before anyone can have a life-changing score. Like, people line up for this con and don't see that they're the reason. Well, I'm not gonna. There's value. There's EV on those days. I'm going to get the EV. You stupid bananas. I go, if you stop playing this bet, then you really get good bets. They'll change, right? But as long as everyone lines up on these days, I love it when it comes back short, or when I hear stories of guys got beat on the last leg. I love it. They deserve all the punishment that the horse gods have for them.
All right. Well, you answered a question I don't have to ask now. I was going to ask you about the carryovers, and you've answered that. So, do you do it, any seriously, not casually? Is there any other form of gambling like poker or sports wagering or whatever that you bet besides horse racing, or are you pretty much from a serious gambling standpoint just horse racing?
Yeah, it's really just horse racing. I know when the NFL is on, there'll be I'll give you what's the name of the guy in Cincinnati? Good quarter, Joe Burrows, right?
Right.
Okay, so say Joe Burrows is not playing, and Cincinnati was playing in Kansas City, and Kansas City now the line goes from 3.5 to 9. I'm betting on Cincinnati. Whenever there's a huge line move, I bet the other way.
Interesting. So do you make serious bets? Are we talking, or is this just action bet?
I hit once. I'll tell you where I made a score was I think it was Thursday night, opening week, and Arizona's at home to New England. Tom Brady's out. Arizona's a real good team, and Tom Brady's out, and Garoppolo's making his first career start. And that line went to 9 or 9.5, and I grabbed about 50,000 keen New England on the money line. So I got parlays going. I got parlays off of that.
That's pretty serious.
Yeah, but I didn't bet much money. Like instead of just betting them and getting, that game in the money line, I parlayed them. I risked like I normally do. So instead of getting the 4-1 or whatever it was on 500, I did parlays and I got lucky. I hit one parlay, missed another one for another like 25,000, but and I take those serious shots to kill them. And I really believe in sports betting. If all that money is going on one side, it just too much money goes in, so you're getting more points. The people betting against are giving up more points than they should. So now that line that was 4 that should be 7 is 9. Well, I'll take the 9. And not only that, right, the math of it, I'm pretty sure if sports are fixed, they're fixed in favor of the house and not the player.
So, gambling on sports, has that made you think differently about how you gamble on racing, or is it pretty much the same? I mean, have you learned anything?
I'm convinced there's corruption. That's the way I just brought up in a corrupt neighborhood, right? I was corrupted young, and I think corruption. So that's kind of, other than having the line move to your favor, I think the pickle is in. You can go on Netflix. I'll show you 12 different things where basketball fixed, cricket fixed, this soccer fixed, all fixed. There's only millions and millions of dollars involved. Who would ever do anything nefarious, right? So that's the way I think. So,
but you still bet it if you think the line moved in a way.
Oh yeah, no, I'm going right back from being 18, 19 years old. There used to be a guy in a pool hall down the road from my pool hall I hung out at, and he had all the parlay cards, and he would take head-to-head bets. And back then there was the only night game was a Monday night game. So I would walk in and stand in the door. He'd see me, and he'd either tell me to leave or sit down. If he left, that meant the game was 50-50, the action. If it was to one side, he knew what I wanted, right? And so he'd come over to me. The game would already be kicked off, right? And he'd come over to me and say, "How much money do you have?" And I'd say, "I have 400. He goes, "You got all 400 on the dog," or he'll say, "You got 200 on the dog." He knew what I wanted. If all the money was on one side, I wanted to bet all my money with him. If, a good amount of money was on one side, I only wanted to bet that much. And I was convinced those Monday night games were fixed, and I will be convinced of them not all of them, but that's the way I think. And I put up my money, and I do pretty good on those games.
That's interesting. Like you said, there's not a lot to translate there, but I understand the sentiment. So, gonna get close to wrapping up here. What do you think? You've kind of already answered this, but I'll give you a chance to answer it again. What's the biggest mistake that you think most players make that if they could improve on that, it would improve their results?
I think playing well. Okay, so just what kind? You're talking about a serious player?
Yeah, I mean, either
Yeah,
one, whatever.
yeah, a serious player playing too many tracks where you can't do the work yourself, right? Because I know if I'm playing one track and you're playing 5 tracks, if you're playing 5 tracks seriously, you're probably using some sort of sheets, right? Speed figures. And if I try to play 5 tracks, watching replays against you who's using, just say, ragas and sheets, you're going to slaughter me. But if I'm playing one track and you're playing 5, I'll kill any sheet player without using the sheets, because I can take the buyer, I can take whatever you call those 2 numbers, like 87-17, right?
Right. That
They've
yeah,
been there
the track
forever. I can take
yeah.
those numbers and I can put my work into it, and I'll beat a guy who's just a die-in-the-wool sheet player. I'll destroy him. That he's got no chance against me. But you get contest players that are playing 7 tracks, and trainers, that don't have the time to do it, and you got horse players, you got services that are covering 5-6 tracks. I understand them having, it makes a lot of sense. But I would say play one track, do the work at the one track, and don't, try to remove fun from the game.
So be a professional and focus on where
fun,
your strength is.
Where you have fun, go home, throw that money on your bed and roll in it naked, and there's nothing more fun than that. And if it's cold,
you just left me something.
Somebody to keep you warm too with some of that money.
Yeah, for a minute there, I had a vision. I was having a hard time getting out of my head there.
There you go. I don't do that. I wear scuba gear.
Okay, so one last question. This is your chance to get on your soapbox. And again, I think you might have already answered this one. But what's the one change that if you were the czar of racing that you could change that you think would have the biggest impact?
Yeah, I would definitely. And it's not just one thing. It has to be a couple things aligned with each other. I would definitely get rid of rebates and lower the takeout to, match that. I like what Hong Kong does. Hong Kong, if you're on track, and I think if you bet winner place, you bring your $100 losing ticket back. They give you 10% back. They might do it, I think, on Quinellas and Omnis too. I'm not sure. But I really think it's insanity that customer that lives in your backyard, that comes to your track every day, spends money other than gambling at your track, gets the short end of the stick compared to the guy that's in a different state, country, or continent. I don't care how much money he's betting. I get that part of it. Capitalism. I'm fine with capitalism, but those advantages at the track, you cannot, put on an ad in the racing forum, because we live in a small bubble where people are kind of informed, and even most of them don't really care. But put an ad in the program every day. Say, by the way. Right? Although you only get a 1% rebate, people who are betting through North Dakota or whatever are getting a 14% rebate. We thought it's our duty to let you know. Do that. Put that in the program every day. See if that flies. People don't understand what's being done to them.
So I didn't really ask you, do you get rebates?
When you look, when I was betting with a partner, basically we were getting a 5% rebate, but I was making a living, giving him half. And it's not like we could bet double because we had like $100 limit on this, $500 limit on that. We could only win 50,000. I really, and I'll tell you another thing in this day and age, if you're a sharp player, I'd be scared to play through some place where they can monitor your wagering. I don't know for a fact, but I have a feeling these.
You think that they might be piggybacking on your front running your bets and stuff?
Well, what I heard is someone told me, and they said they might not be able to look at Chris and Tommy's bets, but they can look at a good cross section of a bunch of winning players or close to winning players, and it's, put it this way: if I was playing, I go to Gulfstream every day. I'm going to play Santa Anita every day. But if I was to play the way I was playing before, I definitely wouldn't play pari-mutually. They don't deserve my money. They don't deserve. They do nothing for me, right? I don't care. Even if I was getting a rebate, they do nothing for me. They let people have advantages over me, so why shouldn't I play somewhere where I can have the advantages over them? And, I'm a horse owner. I understand, how not betting through the tracks affects purses of that, but these racetracks don't seem to care about their horsemen. They basically stole their best customers, where they were chopping their betting dollar, and now you go from 50-50, now you're going to 90-10. The horsemen are getting shafted, the horse players are getting shafted, and the bets that the horsemen are making no money off are the guys who are getting all the advantages. It's just insanity. So why should I care? Why should I be the fair guy? I'm telling you, if I was betting big money again, in a heartbeat, I could care less if I went to jail, got in trouble. I wouldn't mind going. If I was playing seriously right now, I wouldn't go in front of the judge. Say, you think I'm doing something wrong? Take a look at what these guys are doing, right? I think a judge, and an open-minded judge would say, "You're right. I got the wrong guy in here."
Okay, that's a good note to end the questions on. Before we get to our example we're going to walk through, which I think is going to be fun, anything else you want to add that I haven't covered that you want to touch on?
Yeah, just don't have this don't have a zero end game mentality that you're going to go broke. Think you can win, play to win. Even a lot of people, they just so sure they can't win. And maybe they can't, but it's the wrong. Think you can win. Get better. Get serious. I don't care if you're playing $40 one day a week. It doesn't take much in this game to apply yourself. I'm the laziest turd on the planet. If I can do it, anyone can do it. I'm not a stupid guy, but I'm no genius. Just I applied myself, and and I really, really wanted to win. And a lot of it is passion too, but just think you can win, believe you can win, try to win. Like you have to, or don't play, don't play. Do, like I said, there should be, do a fantasy, not horse tourneys or that stuff. No offense, but just there should be a fantasy thing. You know what I mean? Like, so just open it up on the computer. Everyone pick horses, points at the end of the year. We all give you a standing ovation. You're gonna have fun. You won't lose no money. You won't win no money. Probably better off.
Well, I kind of agree with you that there's all this negativity, and there's these young players really think it's impossible to make money, and so just convincing them and kind of giving them the confidence that, hey, if you apply yourself and you learn how to zig when others zag, it may be harder to make money now and be successful, but it's not impossible. And anytime you hear people telling you something's impossible, for me, that's the sound of opportunity.
Well, it is the outer society gets it. Don't let them get. We're letting the outer groups get into our game. Not only PETA, just people in general. You gamble. I had one guy who was sitting beside this old guy at the track. For a winter ages ago, and he goes, "I really like you. You're a nice boy. You're a nice boy, right? What do you do for a living?" "I gamble." He goes, "Oh." He goes, "You'll never find a wife." I go, "Good." Like that mentality. When I won the BCBC, so that I was like on page 3 of the Toronto paper, right? My picture and a big write up, right? And so my barber, this old timer, I think he's retired. He used to always say, "Remember, come to Ed. Give me your money. I give you half back," instead of going to the track, right? So I come in, and the guy goes, we're sitting waiting. The guy goes, "Is that you?" The guy's reading the paper, right? And goes, "Yeah." And Ed goes to the guy, "You know him? He's a horse player." He goes, "Yeah, he's in the newspaper. Here, Ed, look." He starts laughing. He goes, "Yeah, I got one at home that says I jumped in a barrel over Niagara Falls." He didn't believe it. And the guy goes, "Ed, it's your paper." He goes, "What do you mean?" He goes, "This is your paper. I didn't bring this paper. He didn't bring. This is your paper, right? That you brought." Get out of here. Get out of here. He wouldn't believe it.
All right, well, let's get to the example. And this was Tommy's idea. He wanted for me to give him some notes, some opinions on the late pick 4 at Gulfstream Park, and he's going to build a pick 4 ticket or a set of tickets based on my opinion. He's going to quiz me on how I feel about the races, and he's going to build a ticket kind of using some of the ideas that we've talked about earlier. So I'm going to turn it over to Tommy, and he's going to take over and ask me some questions, and we're going to build a ticket, hopefully, that has a chance to make a nice score if we get lucky tomorrow.
Okay, let me pull everything up here. Be lickety split. Okay, so this is starting in race 11 tomorrow. And I told Chris to give me his first run Neanderthal kind of who had a shot in hell ticket. So it's not the way he's going to play, but this is the way I start. So he started in race 11 with 1, 2, 3, 5, 9. And then in race 12, he had 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 5, 5, 6. Race 13, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 12. And then in the last leg, the Florida Derby, he had 10 and 11. So this is the way I kind of do it.
And so just to clarify, those are the horses I didn't say are complete tosses. They have some chance of winning. They're not necessarily all horses I'd seriously consider putting in the pick 4 myself, but that's kind of what you started with. Just any of the horses I thought had any chance at all, right?
Yeah, that's the way I started. That's the way that's why I asked Chris to do it that way, not to fine tune it himself. Just any horse that possibly had a shot in here. So we're going to start in race 11. And so I'm just looking on here. Who would you say in here are your most likely winners?
The 1 and then the 2, not too far behind. I think those 2 are kind of above the other ones I mentioned in that race.
Okay, so the way I do it, I see the 1 is 7-2 morning line. So we'll just take it that they're going to be the odds.
That would be my top one. Would be the 1.
Yeah. So he's 7-2. The 2 is 3-1. The other horses are 5-1, 7-2, and 6-1. And to me, if your top horse is 7-2, I definitely don't want to take anything else the same price or lower and using all of them. So the way I would look at it right for now, I would kind of, I think because it's, the first leg and I'll look at this as the logic I had for pick 5, pick 4, because uh, the last 3 races, the last 3 races and the last 2 races at Gulfstream, like on a Wednesday, are really big pools compared to the other pick 3s and doubles. So rather than play 2 horses or even 5, the way I do things, number 1, Mrs. Actor would be a key for me in there. If Love Appeals was 5 or 6 to 1, maybe use it as a saver, but same odds or less, out. And I think, on your opinion, that's what I would do in there. And now we'll move on.
So right now we're just singling
And by
one,
the way,
right?
yeah, by the way, that first ticket for 50 cents, the one with all the horses, was basically a $210 ticket. So just to put
That
that
was just
into
a
notation.
straight caveman using any horse I thought had a chance was $210 it was at 50 cent. Is that what that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and, the way I look at it, your best play is 7 to 2, and the other 4 are lumped in at 3 to 1, 7 to 2, 5 to 1, and 6 to 1. There's nothing there. We're spreading, taking your second horse at the same odds or lower odds. Maybe might come back to it, but I think for now that's the way I play. I'm going to single the 1 rather than use the 2. Get knocked out, maybe jump back in on the pick 3 if that's worth it. And usually, like, if when I just say I do play the 1 and I get knocked out, I'm almost never come back with the same amount of spreads on the pick 3. I'll even hone it down even more. So just to keep that in mind. Okay, so now we'll go to race number 12, where you had 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and what are your stronger opinions in there?
Oh, definitely the 2 is my strongest opinion, and I think it's as likely to win as any, and it's a good price. So the 2 would be strong. And then I like the 4 more from a price standpoint, but I think it's solid contender. And then probably the horse I'm most worried about would be the 5, Miracle.
Okay, so your strongest opinion is 6 to 1. Your second opinion is 10 to 1. And then the other 4 horses are 5 to 2, 7 to 2, 9 to 2, 4 to 1. Those tickets could never make, those last 4 can never make, almost never make it on my ticket unless I got something really, really offside in the other legs. So
yeah, I'd be good with that as long as we include the 4.
Yeah, so the way I'll if we're going to use A, B, so the 2 is your A, the 4 is your B, or the 2 is your main selection, the 4 is your backup.
Sounds good.
Okay, now we go, just give me a sec, click on to race number 13, where you had 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 12. And how do you separate these horses?
2 and 3 I like quite a bit. And they're both big prices. And then the 1 and the 12 also I like kind of in the second tier a little bit less, but they're both good prices. And then I would toss the 5 and the 6. I could leave them off for sure. And the 7's the only one of those that I'm a little concerned about, but I think it's an underlay. So I mean, I really like 2 and 3, and I also like the 1 and the 12 in here probably.
Yeah. So the 4 horses you have are 8 to 1, 20 to 1, 10 to 1, and 15 to 1. And I don't mind a 4-horse spread like that. The other ones at those low prices, I don't think they belong equally with these horses. So I'm with you. I would leave them off the ticket. So race 13, I would pencil in 1, 2, 3, 12. And you said 2 and 3 are your best bets?
Yeah.
Yeah. And even though like the one is 8 to 1 and he's lower odds than the 2 or the 3, it's good enough for me. That's the type of price on a 4-horse spread that, at least you get him, you're moving ahead and not laterally or backwards.
Yeah, and I wouldn't put a whole lot of stock into the morning line. There's a good chance the one might be a bigger price than the two or the
Yeah,
three.
no, I know I'm not, but
Yeah.
we're just gonna, for argument's sake,
Okay.
we'll just say these are the morning lines are the closing prices. I don't want to get into that trying to figure out, go on OzChecker and try to figure out what the exact prices are going to be. That's just defeats
right.
the purpose. Okay, so now we're going to the last leg, and this is where you had it kind of thin. You had the 10 and the 11, Fort Bragg and Forte.
Yeah, I think Forte is much more likely to win. It'll just be a lot lower price. I think Fort Bragg's the only one that might have an outside shot of beating him. I don't really give any of the others much of a chance.
Okay, so just give me 1 second.
Are you
Okay,
typing
so
something into a spreadsheet or something right
no,
now?
no, I'm just writing. I'm quick. I just wrote.
Okay.
I've been writing as along, and now I just put it across. I just wrote some. I was writing as we were going. I just putting amounts here. So the first run I would write down. Forget about that $210 Neanderthal ticket. So
Okay.
I would start. The first bet would be a $2 ticket, one with 2-4, with 1-2-3-12, with 10-11.
All right. So that would be $16. Wait, no, 2, 4, 12, $24.
Or actually, you know what? No, make that bum, 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 bum.
Wait, no, 2 times 2. Okay, so you got 1 by 2 by 4 by 2. Okay, so that's it'd be $32 for a $2.
Okay, so make it $2.50, so it's $40.
All right.
The next ticket for $5 would be the exact same ticket, except in the second leg we're pressing the 2, so it's 1 with 2, with 1-2-3-12, with 10-11.
Okay, and so that one is 16 times 5. That would be $80.
No, 1 with 2,
All right.
with 1-2-3-12, with 10-11. So it's 5 times 8 combinations.
Okay. So we only got 1 in there. Okay, right. So we got 8 for it's another $40.
Yeah.
All right, got it.
Okay. Then the next ticket for $5 would be 1 with 2-4, with 1-2-3-12, with the 11.
All right, and so that's basically the same price, another $40 ticket.
And then the last ticket is a $10 one with the 2 presses. So it's 1 with 2, with 1-2-3-12, with 11.
All right, and so that one is another $40. So what you did, I'm just going to summarize it. In at the first line, you had all the contenders identified, not the caveman contenders, but the discussion we went through on each of the 4 races. We included them all for $250, and that was a $40 ticket. Then you pressed one of the races where I had 2 horses I liked, and that was another $40 ticket. And then you pressed the other race where there were 2 horses I liked, for 40. And then you double pressed where you pressed them both together for 40.
Okay, so that ticket, those tickets are $160, right? But
Right.
now the way I would look at it, right? Yeah, how much more do you really like Fort Bragg over Forte?
No, I like Forte over Fort Bragg, right? I mean,
But
I'd say
how much?
I would say Fort has probably 65, 70% chance of winning, and Fort Bragg's more like 15 or 20%. So, maybe 3 times as likely to win.
Yeah, so that's kind of pretty close. So, those tickets, the only, if you wanted to really get fancy is where you have the 4 horses, you could play those 2 you like a bit more, right? You could scale those down. But another way the way I play, and I'd be more tempted to do it. But that's just say my opinion was I really like Forte a lot, and Fort Bragg's really the only other horse that has a shot. But do I really want to take 5-1 on him beating not only all the other horses beating Forte? I'm just saying in my mind. So instead of playing that $160, the way I play, I'd be more tempted just to go $10, 1 with 2-4, with 1, 2, 3, 12 with Forte Cold, and then $20, 1 with 2, with 1, 2, 3, 12 with Forte Cold, and that's $160. It just.
So you're saying just take 10 out, right?
No, I'm just saying if you, but if you know with the math you gave me of 70% and 15%.
Or more like 60, yeah. Or 70,
it kind of makes
60,
sense that you want to keep Fort Bragg in, you know, and you know you can mess around with those, you know,
But you're saying you use a little more, probably more than what we did originally, maybe more on Forte and less on Fort Bragg.
Or like I'm saying, right in that first line of tickets for $160, you could possibly hit it for $7 with Fort Bragg, or $22 with Forte, yeah. Right? But the way I play, right? The way I play, I might say, you know what? I really like Fort Bragg, and it's not like I'm taking a 12-1 or something. So it's it's up to your individual player. I might play $10 ones and $20 ones.
And just play either Fort Bragg or Forte, not both.
Yeah, or
depending on which way you're leaning.
Yeah, your math makes it pretty even, right? Where you can play both, kind of the way we did it. The first ticket probably bang on hits it mathematically, I think, but I'm more of a greedy pig.
So what I'll do is I'll tweet out this ticket that you ran through. I'll go with the first one you went. So if people
you know what, on your opinion, I think that one with both horses is the right one.
Because that's potentially with, I mean, you could.
No. I get it. Yeah. On your opinion, you're absolutely right. I'm just saying. That's we got to leave that one. I'm saying the way I play, I'm more of a greedy pig, and I don't know, like, and I have a like. I'm not a fan of Forte, but you know, with all the speed in this race, it's kind of like, geez, man, he has no excuse. Post position isn't an excuse.
And lack of competition. But I mean, looking at the ticket, I mean, 3/4 of it is Fort, and only 1/4 is Fort Bragg. So
yeah. No, I said the way you like it. Yeah, the way you like it, it's perfect. But I'm just saying is. Another option, if it's somebody else, me or someone else, you know, it's something to think about, right?
Yeah, if you were maybe a little more opinion was Fort is a little is more vulnerable and Fort Bragg's a little better, then maybe you just go with Fort Bragg and go for the big score, right?
Yeah, but then again, you know, with the numbers you have in that 4-horse race,
I got some big prices, yeah.
You know, you probably get dizzy, right? And actually. Going from a $22 pick four to a $30 pick four is probably not too smart anyway. I'm just saying, is if you wanted to play it, you know, the way is the option. The point I'm trying to make, the option is not to add horses. It's, if anything, cut down and play it for more.
Right. The only thing that makes me a little uncomfortable is leaving the 2 out of that first leg. Completely, because I like the 1 a little better, but not a whole lot better. And they're about the same price, you know. And so that was the only thing, you know, when looking at this, that's definitely that's the hurdle. You know, that's the weak link. If you get past that, but like you said, if we're gonna play it, I could always play the pick 3, right? Come back and play that. If I get knocked out by the 2 in the first leg, that's kind of what you're thinking, right?
You know, yeah, and the thing is, you got a good point, but I'd rather always lean to cutting than adding.
Right.
Because like.
Now, if the 2 was like 8-1 or something, you'd have it in here. You'd have put it in the ticket, right? But because it's 3-1,
Maybe that I'm talking about,
right?
we're talking about me, right? The way
Right.
I play, right? So I wouldn't
Well,
make
that's what
that
I want to
statement.
do. I want this
Yeah,
ticket to reflect
yeah.
the way you play. It's my opinion, but if this were
So
your opinion, this is how you
I
bet
got
it, right?
I look at it this way here. Let me just so in the first leg, those horses are 7-2 and 3-1 to 1 and 2, right?
Right.
And then in the last leg, you're basically first choice, second choice.
Right. And then I got
And
pretty good prices in the other two
yeah,
legs.
no, I know. Like, I know people who are listening, and the guys who are spending like 200, playing 40 combinations, 80 combinations, are thinking I'm insane. But to me, the way I play to weigh it down, that first ticket with 32 combinations, with, you know, 7-2, 3-1 in the first leg, and the two favorites in the last leg, I don't care what's in the middle. I don't care. I'm not looking to hit for 2,000. With that small money, I'm looking to hit for 20,000. So for me, that first ticket with just the one, that's as thick as I want to go.
Right.
To me, it's
No,
50-50.
yeah, I understand exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah. I'm almost probably go to the last ticket where I'm just saying, cold to start, 2 horses, 4 horses cold, and then even give myself leverage with that money I was spending on the 10 horse to press the 2 and the 3 and the 4 horse spread, and try to really kill it if my opinion comes in. When you play like this, you're not looking you're not looking to get even on the day, on the week. You want to be able to recover a lot of losses, right? So I play a bit different, but the way I play, there's no way I'm adding another horse on that ticket. That first 100, no way I'm throwing the 2 in there.
Right.
No way.
No,
Maybe throw them both out, right? And
well, and
pick 3. I don't know. And then even when I get to the pick 3 now, it just say I don't play the pick 4. I get to that pick 3. I'm not playing 2-4 with 2 horses, with 4 horses, with 2 horses. Never in a million years with those prices. Right. Never. I'm going to key one of them, or key just key the 2. My ticket might be 2 with 1, 2, 3, 12 with 10, 11, and 2 with 1, 2, 3, 12 with 11, or just 2 with 1, 2, 3, 12 with 11.
Right. For me, I absolutely agree with you. And I probably would definitely just narrow it down to 1 and the pick 3 in that last leg, and I might even press the 2 and the 3 in that middle leg, because I like those a little better than the 1 and the 12. So
yeah.
So all right. And so I will I'll tweet this out for anybody listening that doesn't have it written down. To me, this is, you could hit for, depending on how it comes in, you could hit for all 4 of these. The way you build the pyramid is you could hit with all of them, right?
Yeah, the bottom one hits, everything else hits.
Right.
Yeah, and the way I play that, that ticket 1 with 2 with 1, 2, 3, 12, 11. I'm always tempted to play that, throw another $20 and, go, narrow it down even more. Just that.
Even go even farther. Yeah, maybe play with the 2, 3, like maybe a 1, 2,
yeah,
2, 3, 11.
And then even play with just cold. Another $5 might bring you back 8,000. So
right.
If you're absolutely right, you know what I mean?
In fact, why don't we do that? Why don't we put another leg on there? 1, 2. So you're saying just go cold. I was thinking 2, 3, 11, but you saying maybe just go cold to
1 with 2 with your 2, 3 with 11 for $5 more. It's an extra $10. It's like nothing in the big scope of things, and that $10 could pay more than every other ticket.
Right. And I told you I'm the only one I'm a little nervous about was that first leg. I actually, to me, I want to be nervous about 1 or 2 legs, or I'm probably spreading too much, right? You got to take a few shots. or you're probably in long run that's going to pay off. So I'm not
nervous.
at all.
Listen, I'm nervous in every leg every day. Something can happen. No, you know that. So just
Yeah, but I mean one leg in particular.
All I know is if your opinions are exactly right, that extra $10-$20 at the end can remove a lot of losses. You know, there's a lot of insulation there for nothing. I know. I was at another NHC. I was at the NHC, and I liked the 20-1 shot at the fairgrounds, and I basically played a pick 3 that was 2x3 by the 20 cold 20-1, and then I did 2x2, 1x2, and then the last ticket that was 50 cents. I played the tickets the way I wrote them out for the exact amounts, and when I played that last ticket, I had like $23 left on my voucher, and that last 50-cent cold ticket, I just kept hitting it, bump, 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 and I hit. You know, awesome. I hit a $23 extra pick 3 that I don't know if it paid $90 for 50 cents with a voucher during the NHC that voucher was just as easy to get lost on the floor.
But that's the beauty of what you do with this pyramid structure is you're really leveraging your best opinion, and as you get one further step up that pyramid, it kind of almost is an order of magnitude bigger score. And if you can get all the way to the top, you have a monster score. That's the beauty of it. And like you said, if you have that one time that you're right, it can make up for a lot of the times that you're not right. And even if you're just close to being right, you can still make a good score if you can get up 2 or 3 levels on the pyramid, right?
Yeah, and I'll give another little bit of advice. That first ticket, the one with 2-4, with 1, 2, 3, 12, with 10, 11. So that's 2, 8. So that's $8 for 50 cents, right?
Let's see, for 50 cents, all right.
Right, it's $8.
Right,
so
right.
If somebody only has $8 to play, 90% of the people are going to play that $8 there, right?
Right.
I would play it at the bottom.
Try to make the big score.
I would do $1 pick 4, 1 with 2, with 1, 2, 3, 12 with 11. That's $4, and then do a $2 one, 1 with 2, with 2, 3 with 11. Always play that bottom one's the one that where that top ticket is, hey, that's great, but that bottom tickets were, when you increase your bets, that's where the home runs are.
Yeah, and the singles are gold in these picks because, if you go from 10 horses to 9 horses, it doesn't really change your ticket costs much. But you go from 2 to 1 in a leg, you're cutting it in half. I mean, that's huge leverage if you can.
I'll touch on another mistake. You can just, going back, just standing behind somebody, watching them play a ticket. So they'll put in a $72 voucher and they'll punch out their pick 4, and the pick 4 comes out to $36. And instead of printing it and printing it again, they go back. Let's see where we can put a couple in here and a couple in here and a couple in there.
It's the opposite of what you're doing, where you're pruning them, they're adding them.
You have a ticket written out, right? It's cost $36, and you're saying, okay, you know what? I was going to spend 36. Let me just put the whole 72 in here. Just hit it again, or and so you see people do all the time. I call them Liberaces. They go race and they start playing the piano, till they finish their voucher off.
All right. Well, this is great. So I will I'll tweet out this pick for anybody listening ahead of time. And I will also send the link out to the blog piece I wrote where I talked to Tommy and some other people about how they approach the pick 5. And we talked about this pyramid technique that Tommy used here in a little more detail, and you can see it written down if you couldn't quite follow along verbally. So I encourage you to look at that. There was also some good ideas from some other players in terms of how they play the pick 5, but we did a pick 4 here, but it's the same exact principle. It's just like Tommy talked about that example where he hit at Santa Anita. So that was great. It's this is the longest pod I've ever done, Tommy. But it was great. I enjoyed every minute of it. I really appreciate your taking the time. You're always so willing to share. I know this of you, just anybody who has questions, on track or off, offline, NHC, whatever. You're always willing to share, and that's one of the things I really like about horse players in general. Is they, there is some, even though we're competing against each other, by definition in pari-mutuel wagering, there's still a lot of camaraderie and willingness to kind of share and coach, especially the newer, younger players. And I think that's really important because to keep the game going, you got to get an influx of new players, and it can be a little intimidating to get started in. So it really helps to have people like you that are willing to share.
Yeah, you know what, Chris? More importantly, the players that are already in this game, it's like you alluded to earlier. Everyone in that room is a teacher, not a competitor, really. There's always something to be learned with conversing with other horse players, and I'm not arrogant enough to, I really, you said, you can learn bad things from other people, but I'm always interested just to analyze everyone, and you never know where you can find good tidbits from. Never, you'll be surprised.
Absolutely. All right. On that note, I want to end it. I want to thank you again, Tommy, for everything, not just for this, but I've learned a lot from you over the years. And I always enjoy talking with you. And I also want to thank everybody for listening in on this or any of the pods, especially this one's long, but definitely worth a listen. Who knows? Maybe we even help you hit the pick 4 tomorrow. And I want to end with I hope that you all boldly go where no horse player has gone before.
All right, make some money and get that hammer so you can ring that bell.